Harden bombs away.
It's the wake-up call with KB and Andy on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Darnold goes out of the gun. 3rd and 3 at the 16 of the Colts. Jones is his back to the right side. Ball in the right hash. 3 receivers deployed to the left. Darnold looks that way. Pitches. Now he squirms out of the pocket, rolling left. He's at the 20. Fires upfield into the end zone. Picked off at the goal line by the Colts. It's Zaire Franklin. Oh, what a gift. Darnold under center. Play action. Deep drop. Here comes the rush by the Colts, and they ring him around the neck. The ball is out. They're going the other way with it. Kenny Moore has it. He's at the 10. He's at the 5. Touchdown on defense for the Colts. Darnold waiting on a shotgun snap. Takes it. Backs the throw. Looking left. Hitches. Here comes the rush by the Colts.
Got him.
And they gobble him up again. This time, DeForest Buckner brings Sam Darnold to the turf. Reichert examining. There's a snap. Placement. Kick is up. And this one is off the right upright. Oh, boy.
Missed it.
1st and goal at the 4. Darnold under center. Jones is the lone back. Unbalanced line to the right side. Ball in the left hash. Darnold fakes to nobody. Here comes the rush. They throw into the end zone. A diving attempt on the ball. And that's Addison, and he's got it. Wow. How did he make that grab as he gave maximum effort? Darnold backs to throw. Here comes the rush. He's taking a shot downfield. And that is an over-the-shoulder basket catch by Justin Jefferson. He made it on Samuel Womack inside the 5, and he'll tumble out of bounds at the 2-yard line for a gain of about 40. Shotgun snap for Darnold. Here comes the pass rush. He throws left into the end zone. Caught, touchdown. And it's Jalen Naylor. Flacco backs the throw, plants in the pocket, and throws it to the left, and it's picked off. Darnold on play action, sails it upfield. This time it's picked off. It's Nick Cross. Nick Cross gets it right back for the Colts. 4th and 2 for the Colts at the plus 40-yard line. Colts are down by 4. Huge play here with 5:24 to go in the 4th quarter. Flacco out of the gun. Backs the throw. Looking over the middle. It's Ashton Dulin. Incomplete. Broken out there by Harrison Smith. The Colts on 2 straight plays pass with only needing 2 yards to get a first down at the plus 40-yard line, and they turn the ball over with 5:20. Booting left is Darnold. Throws into the end zone. Wide open touchdown. That's a tight end, and it's Josh Oliver. He's got a touchdown in back-to-back games. And that might do it.
I got to keep looking at, what we're doing offensively. You know what I mean? We got 8 left. We're halfway through the year now. And just kind of look at, scheme stuff and what we're doing, and we'll go from there. Right now, yes.
If you went to bed at halftime last night,
yeah, good for you.
You've won the week.
Yes, you have.
You have won the week. Just open up the little sports app on your phone, dial up that box score, and the game was as ugly as it looks, especially for Joe Flacco, and I would say especially for Shane Steichen. Probably his worst 60-minute hour as a Colts head coach, certainly in a week with, in my opinion, a head-scratching decision or two. Good Monday morning to you, Swifties. Safe travels out of the city of Indianapolis. Thank you for spending a lot of money here. 21-13, the old backdoor one-possession game for the Colts last night as the defense finally broke after a whole lot of bending. And Andy Sweeney, 39-year-old quarterback, looked like the man that I try to warn people. This is a guy, 8-16 in his last 24 starts. Prime time, the whole nation got to see the Colts with a quarterback problem.
Yeah, good morning to you guys. It's just, we come in here weary-eyed. You're right. If you went to bed at halftime and you didn't believe the nonsense you were seeing, you absolutely. I will say this for us, because the Colts had no plays, okay? They had 49 plays in the game, which is just an amazing number with an offensive genius like Shane Steichen as your head coach. The game went pretty damn fast. That was one of the quicker games that you could get. I think even Tirico talked about that in the first half, how the game was flying right along. We were like a 25-minute first quarter, so that was good. But, everything else was bad. The offense is so bad, and it's a Flacco thing this week. It's been an Anthony Richardson thing. It has some sort of disease or illness. The offense stinks. The running game with Joe Flacco stinks. Joe Flacco, he stunk it up last night. Wide receivers aren't open. That's something you harped on all week. Hey, why aren't our wide receivers open and everyone else's are? I thought the defense played a valiant effort for large parts of the game, but they eventually broke. And Matt Gay, I know he fit one in there on the left side, but he missed another field goal in the first half over 50 yards. That's a game you wish was tucked away at 1 o'clock with 7 or 8 other games in the NFL so no one could see how bad you were on Sunday, but we'll talk about it for 3 hours. But I thought there'd be more points, but a disgusting performance from the Colts. It really was.
I think it's a phrase that should apply, frankly, to the final 2 months of the season, and that is these losses, Andy, to me, you could equate them as double losses, because what Shane Steichen did earlier this past week was say, hey, man, the short term, we actually think we can do something. We think there is more left to squeeze out of this lemon, if you will, of this 2024 season. So the short term has become heightened, and that's where I look at these losses and think, that would have been a valuable opportunity for Anthony Richardson to get exposed to primetime football, to get exposed to, watching a very high blitzing and pressure defense in the Minnesota Vikings. So whether you want to live in the long term or you want to live in the short term, because there were certainly people out there that wanted to see Joe Flacco.
Sure.
And they felt like he does give you a better chance to win now. And we can, turn this season around. To me, it's a double whammy. This decision stunk in the long term, and for one Sunday night, it certainly stunk in the short term. And again, I thought Steichen's arguably his worst hour as a head football coach. Last year, Andy, no matter the quarterback, they found consistent offensive success.
Yeah, they did.
And I would argue the personnel this year is better than it was last year.
Well, that's what we thought.
So this is just not going in the right direction for him. And probably I sit here on this Monday with a little bit more directed scrutiny towards him than I have had here in recent weeks. So, again, 21-13, the final there. If you went to bed early, the points you saw, Grover Stewart score, or I should say Kenny Moore score, that was the only time the Colts reached the end zone. Did they get a snap in the red zone? I don't think they had one all game.
I don't think they did either, no. I'm pretty sure they did.
The fewest offensive points all season long, when you consider just 6 from that unit. The fewest yards all season long, the fewest first downs. And I'll probably come back to this point on a few occasions here, Andy, on this Monday morning. You started Joe Flacco largely because you wanted better on third down. Like, if you kind of boiled the Anthony Richardson experience down to one area where he was struggling, it was the inability to find easy on third downs, the inability to sustain drives, those sorts of things. Last night, Flacco was 3 of 11. And in the fourth quarter, in a one-score game, you had 3 third downs on Minnesota's side of the field. One-score game, fourth quarter, third down.
Yep.
If you all of a sudden said you've got Flacco in there versus Richardson, you'd be thinking, oh, yeah, this is exactly why you go to Flacco. And what happens? He misses Pittman short on the first one. He throws a horrific interception on the second one, and then on a 3rd and 2, he tries to cash one down the field to Pittman into some crowds with Trey Sermon seemingly open for what I think would have been a first down as a check down there. 3 misses, all on third down in the fourth quarter from the 39-year-old quarterback. You're 3 of 11 in the game on third down there. That, to me, I think is maybe the biggest gripe. It's like, wait a minute, this is why you have him out there. I'm not expecting some crazy dual threat quarterback or, Jonathan Taylor to have over 120 yards. I figured the run game would have issues. That right there, though, is the area he's supposed to be better in.
Yeah, I think there's a number of things, and you're exactly right. I wrote down after the game, or just kind of watching the game, there were probably, and they all weren't the drives that you were talking about, KB, but, to me, there were 3 or 4 throws and 3 or 4 opportunities, and I thought Collinsworth did a good job in pointing it out that, the Flacco is pushing the ball down the field into tight windows, a little bit like Anthony Richardson tried to, instead of taking the check down for an easy first down. And you mentioned third downs. Listen, Anthony Richardson, abysmal on third down, 33% completion percentage. We know that. He gets benched, and you go to Joe Flacco, and to me, it's not only third downs, KB, it's the fact that what have we been talking about that Anthony Richardson can't do? He can't take the easy play. He can't make the easy play. Well, that was also, like you're saying, that was supposed to be what Joe Flacco could do, and I thought there were 3 or 4 instances that he did not do it. And then the interception in the end zone, dude, he's got to be better than that. That's a losing play. That has been an AR play. That cannot be a Joe Flacco play. So I think that's, number one for me. And then number two, watch last night, and if you watch many of these games, would you think that the Colts have an offensive head coach or a defensive head coach? Like, honestly, you're watching the game, and it's like there's nothing that they're doing. It's not like they're sharp in any sort of way or creative in any sort of way or have any good quarterback play in any sort of way or any wide receivers get open. I mean, Michael Pittman, you should have put him on IR a couple weeks ago if this is what ultimately you're going to get. And I think the thing that kills, and this will be my last thing here, I think the thing that kills Colts fans, at least it kills me this morning, is the fact that you did this past week where you looked like a bunch of clowns, okay? I didn't necessarily think you were clowns, but many people, there were some who didn't, there were some who did, and then you went on Sunday Night Football and you backed all of that up with how you played. And now you have the Anthony Richardson, Joe Flacco stuff, and you have after the game, and we'll play the sound as we go. You have Shane Steichen saying, is he your quarterback? Well, for now he is. Right now he is. What happened to the big bad Shane Steichen and the Colts who said, this is Joe Flacco's job. This is not going to be a knee-jerk thing. We're just, the first sign of an issue. We're not just going to go back to Anthony Richardson. And you have that stinker on offense on Sunday Night Football, and you come out and you can't commit really to Joe Flacco on top of it. And I know there are issues, but it makes you look like a clown, and it makes all the Colts fans that were worried about same old Colts look at this new regime and say it's the same old Colts. And I think that's big picture what was so frustrating for me last night.
If you want optimism that isn't as depressing as it now getting dark at 5 o'clock.
What's that, Purdue basketball tonight?
College basketball opens up. The Paul Cassaro era.
There we go.
IU Indy's the first game of the day.
Oh, are they really? What time are they? Like 11 a.m.?
11 a.m. against a school called, is it IU Columbus? Do they combine Columbus North and Columbus East and take their best players and they play basketball? Never heard of them.
They also don't have a link on ESPN. I can't click on them. I can click on IU Indianapolis. I cannot click on IU Columbus.
Butler 6:45 at Hinkle. Purdue's early too, right? Is Purdue at 6?
Purdue's at 6 o'clock tonight, yeah.
So college basketball gets underway this week, and certainly Curt Cignetti and the Hoosiers, you heard it just before our show started, in true Sig fashion. They asked how we'd get down. Well,
they scored 47
found
straight.
Out.
Yeah.
47 straight,
pretty good.
Ranked number 8th in the nation, 9-0 for the first time in school history. And tomorrow night, I'm sure all eyes will be on the college football rankings coming out for the first time this year. Nothing else going on tomorrow.
Nothing.
And we will see where Curt Cignetti's Hoosiers will be, as they are a 2-touchdown favorite against Michigan here to open up the week. It is kind of fitting that Indiana's schedule here ends the season with the 3 schools that Curt Cignetti said sucked.
I know. It is. Boy, Michigan does suck, though.
And I think he was right, certainly on Purdue.
Yes.
Michigan might be in that category as well, and Ohio State does do to James Franklin what they typically do. So we'll hit on that. The Pacers are in Dallas tonight. It is a very late tip time, 9:45 Friday night in New Orleans there. Once again, the inability to close. Once again, questions about Tyrese Halliburton. And unfortunately, once again, injury questions. Isaiah Jackson lost for the season with that torn Achilles. It doesn't sound like Aaron Nesmith's return is very imminent.
Boy, I'm worried about the Pacers, KB. I don't mind saying it.
That was tough to watch Friday. And again,
it's terrible.
Injuries where it was rooted, but the Halliburton question probably deserves to be a bigger one.
Sure does.
Tonight, they will benefit from Dallas being on a back-to-back. Dallas did play last night. Now, they didn't play their starters too late. But, boy, if you wanted to stay up late last night, you're going to have to do it again tonight to watch the Pacers again, 9:45 in Dallas.
Yeah, this might be one of those I go to bed at halftime. We'll see how long we make it today. So obviously, our normal Monday stuff. We'll take your calls coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. We have our weekend headlines. Good God, Mark, I haven't even looked at those. Those got to be an absolute war zone out there. So
I looked this morning. I was like, my God.
Yeah, I would imagine that's probably the case as well. Our GOATs of the weekend, and then obviously the conversation of the morning, the Colts going on the road and losing their Sunday Night Football in Minnesota. On the other end, what did Shane Steichen say about his quarterback position, plus your news and scores from overnight and the weekend? We'll give you a morning check down. We'll do it next. Appreciate you waking up with us. It's a Monday right here, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
For the second time this season, the Colts now have lost consecutive games. Last night, it was 21-13. A little backdoor Matt Gay late field goal made it, I guess, another one-possession game. But Minnesota made all the timely plays after halftime. And now the Colts are 4-5 with a visit from Josh Allen and the Bills coming up Sunday afternoon. Andy Sweeney, go ahead with the morning check now.
Yeah, let's get you some of the sound from postgame, because if you didn't stay up, God bless you. You probably didn't hear much of it. 21-13, that's your final last night in Minnesota. The Colts now 4-5 on the season. Important to note how bad they are on the road now, just 1-4 away from Lucas Oil Stadium. Let's hear a couple short clips from Shane Steichen. He was asked, Joe Flacco, does he still give you the best chance to win a game?
Shane, you said that Joe gives you the best chance to win. Do you still feel that way after the last?
Yeah, right now, yes.
Yeah, so right now, yes, he does feel that way. Let me give you one more. It's tough to hear a little bit way in the background. Steichen was asked, hey, is Flacco still your starter going forward?
Is Flacco still your starting quarterback going forward?
Right now, yes.
So I don't know. We can talk about this as we go. Him saying right now, yes, is absolutely opening the door for them switching back to Anthony Richardson literally at any time. like this week, next week, the week after, anytime, KB.
This is not a Shane Steichen reference. I've always felt this in press conference settings. When anyone throws in the currently or right now caveat, they can say anything.
Oh, well, I mean, that's what they did earlier when they were talking about, is Anthony Richardson your starter? Remember last Monday? Oh, yeah, right now he is.
That's like when you say with all due respect.
Right,
you can say whatever you want.
Respectfully, Bally Sports can kiss my ass. Once you say that,
you can do anything you want.
Anything goes.
Or you can say honestly, and then you can say a lie, which is fine.
Perfect.
Let me give you one more. Flacco, obviously, he was dismal on the night. Had the big interception, just 6 yards per completion, 179 yards on the night. Here's Flacco on the offense.
Listen, they definitely got after us. I mean, they kind of did what they were going to do the whole game, and we just, we'd have a play here and there, but then we'd either shoot ourselves in the foot or just not really be able to keep drives going.
The Flacco numbers, 16 of 27, 179 and a pick. Colts were 3 of 11 on third down. I would argue about as ugly as those numbers indicate here. So, again, the Colts 4-5. The Buffalo Bills inside of Lucas Oil Stadium. We'll see if they get flexed out of Sunday Night Football a week from now. And the NFL trade deadline is tomorrow. Will last night have any implications on that? All right, if you wanted to stay up again late tonight, you're going to have to do it here with Indiana Pacers. It is a 9:45 tip in Dallas. They lose Friday night in New Orleans, 125-118. Tyrese Halliburton, 2 of 8 from the field, 1 of 6 from behind the arc. The questions about the Pacers star, very relevant with his scoring issues here early in the season. But also probably the big story from Friday, Isaiah Jackson, a torn Achilles. Aaron Nesmith went down with a non-contact. He's out for tonight. Andrew Nembhard is questionable. So, Andy, on the floor, you're 2-4. And I guess off the floor, if you will, the injury situations are starting to arise. Again, in Dallas tonight, Dallas coming off a back-to-back. Certainly, the Pacers have faced some early season questions, and I think very rightfully so.
Well, the Pacers are a mess right now. I'm worried about the Pacers. I was not worried last week. The injuries have worried me. I mean, with Isaiah Jackson and James Wiseman going down, KB, they're going to have to make a move at some point, are they not? I mean, that's not good. Just with Miles Turner is not going to be good enough going forward. It's just not.
And I don't know, maybe a Tony East question if we could get him on this week, but it's like they need some center. And I even laughed to even bring up the name, but remember they brought Jahlil Okafor onto their G League team?
He's on the Mad Ants,
isn't he? He hasn't played in the league in a couple of years, but, how's Al Jefferson looking these days?
We're what, the third week of the year we're talking about Jahlil Okafor being...
Could Jeff Foster get 6 boards tonight?
Bring back Oscar Tshiebwe?
Bynum?
What's going on?
Tshiebwe? Where's he with the Jazz? Something like that.
I forget where he went.
Man, in Dallas, late one tonight, 9:45 for the Pacers.
Quickly, a lot of college basketball. We had some college football over the weekend. 356 D1 games today. I cannot wait. Butler hosting Missouri State, 6:45, Fox Sports 1. Purdue hosting Texas A&M, Corpus Christi. How about that? 6 o'clock on the Big Ten Network. And then, obviously, from over the weekend, IU got down 10-0, and then my man Kurt Signetti almost got a little bit worried. I don't mind saying it. Reeled off 47 straight. So 47-10, your final there. In the AP poll, Indiana up to 8th, 10th in the coaches. We'll see tomorrow where they are in the college football playoff rankings. And then for some reason, 2 out of the last 3 weeks, and Mark, you need to know this, Purdue has not only lost, but Kevin Bowen has put his neck on the line for him. I saw you pick Purdue in the money line. Why are you doing this to yourself?
Well, I mean, come on.
And it was a close game.
I mean, the game went in overtime. Let's not act like I was an absolute idiot on that.
And they have so many fans. I tweeted that out. Their what should I say? Their atmosphere for these games for now
amazing.
1-7 team. I don't know if it's good for Ryan Walters or bad that the fans are showing up as much as they are.
Yeah, they did the crowd shot. I'm like, are they paying these people to come into the games?
My God.
How does this work here? Week 9 thoughts. Tyler Bass, 61-yard field goal for the Bills there at the buzzer. I feel like Rams Seahawks in the 4:25 window is always a tremendous finish.
It was a good game.
Matthew Stafford, the Hall of Fame type throw in overtime on that one. The Lions win in the ugly weather of Lambeau. Anything else on your guys' end?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, boy, I tell you what, if you watched it closely, and I had some cheddar on this game, which is one reason why I watched it closely, Nick Sirianni made about 4 coaching decisions that I swear I have never seen. This guy will go for 2 at any point and miss it. He will not kick a field goal from 40 yards, then kick one from 57 yards. He is an odd coach. But to me, I think the story of the weekend, I mean, the Ravens blowing out the Broncos, I thought was big. It was bad for the Colts what happened with the Chargers. It was bad for the Colts what happened with the Bengals winning. And then Mark and I were talking about this before you came in. It's like the Bills roll into town. It's 7-2, feeling good about yourself. My God, what are the Buffalo Bills going to do potentially to the Colts on Sunday? It worries me.
Yeah.
It really does.
I think the Lions are the best team in the NFC. Lions are the best team in the NFC. I don't think that's even a question at this point. And I'm ready for the Matt Eberflus time to be over.
Yeah, it wasn't good yesterday.
The only team not to get to double digits yesterday, the Chicago Bears. And that one, Bucks and Chiefs tonight. Kansas City favored by 9. Again, Tampa banged up at wideout. That's your Monday night game here in Week 9.
All right, that's it for me. Coming up on the other end, the Flacco, the quarterback. For now, we can discuss that. Plus, how much are you looking at Shane Steichen? And all of the narrative around the quarterback stuff is really testing the words of the Indianapolis Colts. We'll describe that and explain that to you, and we'll do it next. Reminder, coming up at 8 o'clock, we'll take your phone calls as well. Colts-Vikings conversation next here. It's a Monday on the Fan.
Well, the number 22, certainly one the Colts would dream to get to points-wise here. I don't think they've got there in a month. 4 straight games under that total. It was a bad sign last night when the Colts got to that. Do you remember that 3rd and 2, 4th and 2, kind of late?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
I thought to myself,
2 shots at it.
When the 3rd and 2 arrived, I thought, are they going to bring Richardson in for a short yardage moment? Like, that thought generally crossed my mind. I'm like, they've been so bad on 3rd down tonight. Is this the time to, insert and I know that's probably more of a college thing than you see teams in the NFL do, but there are teams in the NFL that opt for that. But Flacco had been so pathetic on 3rd down. I thought, hey, maybe this is a moment to, throw him in the game, and at least, again, he can hand it off for all I care at that point, but at least you have the threat out there. Sure enough, 3rd and 2 incomplete, 4th and 2 incomplete. And that was pretty much the nail in the coffin last night.
What's the future here? Well, I mean, what are we doing here with quarterback? Are we going to go back to Anthony Richardson again? We played this out during the checkdown. Do their words mean anything? I mean, does it matter? Does it matter to people?
It sounded like me committing to a girlfriend.
Yeah, I mean, does it matter that they paraded that we're going to start Joe Flacco and we're going to make it known that this is not going to be a 1-week thing? I mean, KB, they had to know that. Let me go back. They didn't. There's no way they would have thought that they were going to be offensively and that Flacco at times was going to look as bad as he did yesterday. I mean, this is a Minnesota team that was, going into the game 30th in passing yards allowed? I mean, go back the last few weeks. Matthew Stafford had 4 touchdowns, and I know Matthew Stafford is a Hall of Fame quarterback who is way much more, well, he's not 40 years old. He's only a couple years younger, but you know what I'm saying with Joe Flacco. What are they doing here? And then after the game, you get right now he's our quarterback. For now, he's our quarterback. Well, if I'm going by what Shane Steichen has done and said the last week or so, he questioned Anthony Richardson, and I got to give JMV credit. He was right. He's like, if you're going to say it, that means you'll do it. And then he benched Anthony Richardson after, basically last Monday, a week ago, he said, right now Anthony Richardson's our quarterback. The next day it comes out, not 24 hours later, that he's going to bench the guy. And then you commit to Joe Flacco, and you're very explicit. You ask a follow-up, and there are about 3 other follow-ups a couple times last week where it's like, okay, so he's your guy, right? This is not good. This is not a 1-game thing. This is not an AR suspension. He is going to be your guy going forward because you're going to win now. And after the game, you have a bad game. I understand that. Now it's, for now, he's our quarterback. Or right now, yeah, he's our quarterback. I'm almost wondering today, tomorrow, at some point, if they commit to him for another week, they play bad against Buffalo. I mean, I guess I expect you're going to go back to Anthony Richardson. I don't know. It's making them look, and I got to be honest, you said this in segment number 1. It's making them look like clowns. But then on top of it, I can't tell if Steichen is being dealt a bad hand at quarterback, and that's why he looks inept. That's why he looks the way he is, right? I mean, 49 plays last night for a Shane Steichen ran offense is just complete comedy. Or if there is more to it, if he also isn't helping things by his coaching. I got to be honest, last night was the first night I looked at Shane Steichen and said, big boy, we're going to need something from you in the final 8 weeks of the year, or there are going to be some more uncomfortable conversations this offseason.
That dealt the bad hand at quarterback. Didn't he choose these 2 quarterbacks?
That's a good point.
It's not like was force-fed this quarterback situation. He obviously had a huge say in Anthony Richardson, and then, made the decision last week. Again, I thought last night was probably Steichen's poorest hour in his head coaching career. And you could double back to last week. And again, to me, Andy, when you've moved the goalposts, and they did that last week with the win now focus, and that we feel like there's more offensively we can get out of this, et cetera, then that means we microscope the short term more than I probably have through the first 8 weeks. I mean, they've told us that. I mean, their actions and their words have spoken to that, and I just think any loss right now is a double whammy. It's a loss for the long term, in my opinion, in that you're stunting the growth of Anthony Richardson, and to me, it's undoubtedly, obviously, a loss in the short term. If your focus is win now, that's what you've told your fan base, that's what you've told Jim Irsay, et cetera, et cetera. There's no other point in playing a 39-year-old quarterback here for the final 2 months of the season. To your earlier point about postgame, again, the phrase right now is the biggest cop-out you see in any press conferences. I mean, it's just, right now I'm in the studio with you three. I mean, it's just like such a easy way to avoid committing to an actual question. Boy, that would be quite the definition of a spine for Shane Steichen if all of a sudden he would
have to go back to Richardson.
Granted, I guess.
I don't know what. The thing is, KB, I don't know what I want him to do.
There's an element of just, again, swallow your pride and who cares how it looks. At the end of the day, all that matters is actions. But last night was just awful. And to go back to what I tried to stress in that opening segment, I had a feeling they'd struggle to run it. I was not overly optimistic about Jonathan Taylor having a very potent day from a run game standpoint. I think Richardson's threat means that much to helping out the run game. Where I think you have to be beyond frustrated about last night is you start Flacco to not be 3 of 11 on third down. You start him to not have, you used the phrase earlier, he threw a very Anthony Richardson-like interception on 3rd and 8 in Minnesota.
It's a losing play.
In Minnesota territory in the fourth quarter. I bring up those 3 third downs, again, on Minnesota side of the field, 1-score game, and it was Flacco's issues not picking up those third downs. For example, last week in Houston, you had that late drive there, and I thought Richardson just under siege with his offensive line failing him there. Last night, I thought, besides obviously the final drive of the game, before that, I thought many of your issues in the fourth quarter and not getting fully back into the game was just squarely on your quarterback and squarely on your passing offense of Steichen, whether that's play calling, whether it's guys getting open, or again, Flacco's decision-making itself. And you can't have that. You are starting the 39-year-old not to have that. Richardson has been there, done that, and has struggled in those moments. So when you're 3 of 11 on third down, when you're 16 of 27 for the night, and you had so many third down misses. You had a lot of them early in the game, too. It's just the fourth quarter gets magnified, and I actually thought Collinsworth made a great point late of, like, you have you are starting Joe Flacco to lead you down the field at this moment of the game. Like, that's why you have committed to him. And for you to fail in that very moment is 1,000% an indictment on Shane Steichen and the decision-making that he made last week.
Yeah, it was. I mean, in the end, it's funny, the Colts have had a lot of these, and we've done this with Anthony Richardson, and I don't know, I guess you credit the defense or you credit game flow or just doing just enough, but, in a lot of these games, it's like, okay, you've stunk it up the entire game, but now there's 8-9 minutes to go or 4 or 5 minutes to go, and you're down, and you can drive the ball 65, 70 yards, whatever it may be, and you can go win a football game, and then you don't do it. And so, I don't know what's more frustrating. If I'm a Colts fan, I'm frustrated the way we played. I'm frustrated that in the end, you did still have a chance to have the lead with a couple minutes to go in the fourth quarter. And then it's all compounded with, and I think this is the problem with this morning. It's twofold. Number one, you looked like clowns last week, and it led up to Sunday night, and you were embarrassing. I mean, outside of, Mark, you mentioned the Bears. I mentioned the Browns yesterday, and the Jameis Winston thing was funny. It was fun and funny, and he's doing the pregame speech, and they got their ass absolutely handed to him. But you were one of the more inept teams, and it wasn't, fit in at a 1 o'clock or a 4:05. Everyone was watching. And then, you tell me, KB, how is this team? We talked about them trying to be 6-6, and they're going to have to go 3-1 over the next 4 to be that. How is this not? You wake up, you don't know who your quarterback is. You're going to go into year 3 with Shane Steichen. You're going to go into 9-10 with Chris Ballard. You're not going to know who your quarterback is. They're going to try to sell you Anthony Richardson. At this point, I don't even know who's going to be the backup. You're going to need him. Look at Flacco, look at Minshew, and you're going to be like an 8-9 win team, maybe. But I still think you're going to be like an 8-win team, perhaps a 9-win team. You'll just miss the postseason. You won't win the AFC South, and you'll be drafting in the middle again. I mean, how is this? I think that's the frustrating thing is, how is this? This was supposed to be about growth and being different. Hey, it's win now and it's develop. And if it's not win now, it's fine. It's developing a quarterback. And in the end, it sure looks like you're not going to make the postseason. It's going to show that you're not win now, even though you tried to be, which is even more of an indictment on Chris Ballard. And then the indictment on Shane Steichen that right now you can't develop a quarterback. I don't know. To me, it's frustrating. You want me to give you some rushing numbers real quick?
Let me throw one more at you.
Sure.
It's a phrase that I said quite often in 2022, and it's a phrase that was certainly apparent to last night and potentially for the final 2 months of the season. Don't be bad and old at quarterback. Don't be bad and old.
Well, and boring. They're all of them.
Well, boring too.
Yeah,
but I get that some people can point to Richardson and be like, okay, that wasn't the most entertaining aspect. I get Richardson, brings a leg element that would be different. But bad and boring and heading towards NFL purgatory in the draft is absolutely the worst recipe. Someone brought up earlier, like, are the Colts in a worse spot than they were in 2022? It sounds a bit outrageous when I heard it.
It's not.
But then I'm like, at least in 2022, theoretically, at the end of the rainbow was the 4th overall pick. Now, the 4th overall pick hasn't really panned out, but still, that was at the end of the rainbow. What's at the end of this rainbow?
I would rather be 3rd than 10th.
More awkward quarterback decisions.
1,000%.
And again, in all likelihood, drafting somewhere in the middle. So bad, boring at quarterback.
239-1070. We'll take your calls coming up at 8 o'clock. We'll get to our GOATs of the weekend as well. Zach Hicks, who does, I just saw him retweet it. I decided to give him a follow. He does the SI stuff, the Locked On stuff for the Colts site there. He tweeted this out last night. And, okay, so this is right after the field goal drive that made it 14-10. The Colts got closer with a 42-yard field goal from Matt Gay. Okay, so they had 15 additional plays, 2 more possessions, 15 plays. So this is not totally this is not going to be totally up to snuff here, but just quickly, if you look at it right now with Joe Flacco, Jonathan Taylor is around 3.5 yards per carry. With Anthony Richardson, he was up over 5 at 5.2. He also had 5 touchdowns in that one. Trey Sermon's numbers with Anthony Richardson, 4.3 yards per carry, 2.3 with Flacco, and Goodson, who got benched last night. I mean, he didn't play it. Did he play at snap last night? Did Goodson play at snap?
Just special teams.
Oh, did he? Okay, yeah. I didn't think I saw him on offense. He's averaging nearly 6 yards per carry. He's actually better with Flacco than he is with AR. So the numbers are pretty stark, honestly. I mean, it's 2-3 yards.
Yeah, you become
the difference with
one-dimensional.
Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, I mean, 15. I think just over 3 yards per carry for the running backs last night, Taylor and Sermon. And again, that to me is an element of when we talked about Flacco last week. Hey, you're going to get Josh Downs more involved. Hey, you might find the tight ends. You found Granson on the first play of the game. Like, those sorts of things. 3rd down, we thought could be in there. Obviously, it didn't play out that way in 60 minutes. But the rushing offense is the big, big concern in trying to be a dynamic offense. And I guess this kind of goes back to the boring comment. Richardson clearly has issues as a quarterback, but you at least have that other threat. And some might disagree with this. If Anthony Richardson is your quarterback last night, you might win that football game. I know some people would maybe push back on that, but you needed to finish off 1 or 2 more drives.
Right.
I mean, your defense bent a whole lot. Now, I'd make the argument that they eventually, it was kind of fool's gold, all that playmaking early on kind of caught up to them. But if Richardson is there, does Taylor bust 1? Does Richardson pick up a 3rd and 2 with some sort of zone read? Again, I don't want this to be misconstrued as me thinking Anthony Richardson has been this gold standard for quarterback play. But for all the talk in recent weeks about, hey, if they just would have gone to Flacco, they would have won that game. You were a one-dimensional offense last night, and the one dimension was horrible. And that is what Flacco's strength is supposed to be. The passing offense, the efficiency, sustaining drives. Again, the Colts got absolutely owned in time of possession, which has been very par for the course throughout this season. That is missing. And I think certainly that blueprint, granted Brian Flores blitzes a whole lot, some teams are going to try to replicate that if Flacco remains the quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I would say this, and we can dive into, do we think Flacco will remain? Should he remain? What would we do? We can do all of that. I mean, my biggest problem was the thing that you brought up and the thing I brought up. You brought up 3rd downs, okay? So Anthony Richardson stinks on 3rd down. Well, yesterday, Joe Flacco stunk on 3rd down. Okay, Anthony Richardson, this is my point, has made losing plays for the football team. He cannot hold on to the football. He throws interceptions. He puts the ball on the ground too much. That is what Anthony Richardson has done in the short amount of time, the 10 games that we have seen him. So what did Joe Flacco do? I know. I mean, he threw the crippling interception that you cannot throw. But the game otherwise was how the games have always been. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. It's close at the end. You have a chance. The defense is half good, half bad, and Matt Gay misses a field goal. It's what we've seen every Sunday. You could have just have thrown Anthony Richardson in there, okay, and AR would have had probably 50 less passing yards, but you would have had 50 more rushing yards to your tally.
And again,
it would have been the exact same game. You would have lost 21-13. That's my opinion.
I think what hurts even more about last night is you got some breaks. Sure, Matt Gay missed a field goal. They missed two. They missed a chip shot there from 31. And that Grover Stewart play.
That was unbelievable.
You do not see a flag against a quarterback get picked up very often.
No.
And I know Terry McAuley thought it should have been a flag there. Like, unfortunately, in today's NFL.
Oh, that's a flag, yeah.
That gets called.
I'm surprised.
But I bring that up to say, like, you got breaks.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they missed more kicks than you did. And that was
a terrible in the first half.
Huge break there that you got with the Grover Stewart play and the ability to, turn that into the only first half points of the entire game there. So I think that's what kind of adds to it.
We'll take your phone calls in the 8 o'clock hour. Plus, we need to dive into something you said last week, KB, and I really, really watched it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's a question today for Steichen, but you're watching these offenses that are competent around the NFL. I mean, there are guys that are open. I mean, I don't know if Michael, obviously the tight ends stink, but, Michael Pittman Jr., he is so hobbled right now.
I think you have to have a conversation about Pittman.
I really do. I mean, he's half the player right now.
I respect the hell out of him and, what he's gutting it through.
But it's just not open.
No.
No, I mean, these guys just consistently aren't open. Before we take a break, Mark, can you help me here? I need your help.
Sure.
I get on Twitter on Saturday. I'm on Twitter all day.
God.
I get on Twitter on Saturday.
What wormhole did you go down this time?
Well, and then I see
Simone Biles. What's the latest on her?
I see Kevin Bowen is at the Taylor Swift concert.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, we had no idea that you. I mean, Mark, did you know? I had no idea that you were going. You and Pat McAfee hanging out. Look at you.
Well, I'm
joking on the Pat McAfee.
I was nowhere near Pat.
Look at you. Look at you. You were a Swiftie for a night.
Very fortunate.
You made a friendship bracelet. Come on.
To slide into some late week tickets to see Taylor Swift.
Well, how was it?
It was quite the experience.
I'm sure it was.
I got yelled at by the woman behind me for talking too much.
Yeah,
which is hilarious.
Well, that's what you do for a living. Come on.
I went to the bathroom at one point. There was probably 37 women in the men's bathroom.
Oh, really? Okay.
Luckily, they were very friendly and said, the urinals are open over here. I was like, thank you very much. So I'd walk over there.
So you peed with 30 women walking past you.
That's not pressure at all.
That is a lot of pressure, man.
Well, luckily, it was pretty easy. But then all of a sudden, I turn around after peeing, and next thing you know, there's probably about 6 cops in there saying, women, out.
No, wow, okay.
We can't have this, but it was quite the spectacle. I try to compare it in sports terms, which you really can't. But if Butler Duke, that environment, had a baby with Georgia, Alabama, national title, had a baby, that's what I would describe the deafening noise of the Swifties on Saturday night.
Well, good for you.
It was nuts.
Was it you and the wife, or who was it?
Me and Maddie, yes.
Okay, well, good for you guys.
We had a great time.
Well, I was stunned. I saw your picture, and I go, well, we talked about this. I had no idea that you were actually going.
I think on my way into the office this morning, I think I tripped over about 6 beads just in our garage from all of the broken Swiftie bracelets from people staying at the Conrad there. Have you guys noticed the decorated cars that are in our garage as well?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I've seen it, and they put like N1 or N2 or N3. It's
I was
night 1,
very
night
confused
2.
about that.
Yeah.
I was like, is this a periodic table?
Well,
What's going on here?
I didn't know what it meant either. But well, good for you, man. Look at that.
Travis Kelce in the building when we were there Saturday night.
Well, we need to talk about Jason Kelce at some point.
There's probably a tight end joke there somewhere about Travis Kelce being inside of Lucas Oil Stadium. So it was unbelievable. It was the fact that she doesn't take a break for 3.5 hours is just crazy.
That's unbelievable. It scares me a little bit. I told you guys off air, just like her and her fans, there's so many of them. They're so crazy. They scare me. But, I mean, she can fill a stadium, 67,000.
Well, the woman behind me definitely scared me at one point. But I would say other than that, the Swifties were very respectful.
So you were told to be quiet.
Awkward Kevin Bowen. And, I'm talking to this dude next to me. Him and I are kind of in the same boat. We're very happy to be there and, very fortunate to be there. But maybe we're not when she sings a 10-minute song about Jake Gyllenhaal, I don't think I'm, dying to hear every word of it. So we're chatting about, I don't know, golf or something, and she's
Tiger
telling
Woods.
us to shut up.
She's like, I had to buy the ticket next to these jackasses talking about Tiger Woods.
And you can't
the
say
Golden
anything.
Bear. What are you gonna do?
For the brief period, it crosses my mind I'd love to get in a back and forth with her.
Right? No,
but you can't do that.
You'll be the bad guy. Yeah, you have something to lose.
I thought for a second when Notre Dame's in the Final Four in this building in 2026,
sure,
I want to have good karma.
There you go.
Hence Taylor Swift.
Well, they might be in the college football playoff this year, so we need to hit on that as well. Indiana, 47 straight points is an unbelievable one, and it's one of the only.
We're getting closer to this Indiana Notre Dame playoff.
It's a real conversation. It definitely is. Your calls, more Colts Vikings. We'll do it next. Hour number 2 here on the Fan.
You went to bed at half last night. You have already started off your week on the right foot. It was ugly again for this Colts offense in the second half. 21-13. They lose last night in Minneapolis. We'll take some calls. 317-239-1070. Andy, we've talked a lot about the offense, a lot about Joe Flacco and Shane Steichen throughout the first hour. I've waited over an hour to get to this point.
Okay.
Do we just totally absolve the defense? Or can I mention a thing or two?
No, you can mention a thing or two. I'm not totally absolving them, but, the context is that the offense just gave them nothing.
And the defense scored the only touchdown of the night.
I mean, 49 plays is just not enough. And then, you have two opportunities, including one really good opportunity with, 9 minutes to go take the lead, and you didn't do it. So, yes, there are things with the defense that, could be better, but to me, this was much more of a Steichen,
1,000%.
Flacco, third down, that sort of thing, offensive issue.
1,000%. And when you cut up the 3 hours of the show, you will hear defense mentioned for probably 4% of it. So, and I think that's probably the proper perspective to have on it. But far too often, you play these teams, or frankly, any team, and their guys end the game against the Colts with a career high or a season high. Justin Jefferson, the most receiving yards all season long against the Colts. Sam Darnold last night. Sam Darnold has started 69 career football games.
Go ahead, Mark. You can say nice. It's okay. We all pause for it. Go ahead.
The highest completion percentage of his career,
of course,
was last night.
Of course it was. I mean, and in the end, they did rush for 133 yards.
9 of their 10 drives get to your side of the field. 9 of the 10 had multiple first downs. I don't know if I've ever seen that.
No.
That stat to me, 9 of their 10 drives had at least 2 first downs. And what that happens with that, Andy, is they control field position, they control clock, and certainly, again, the offense, let me stress this, the offense did not do its part at all. Zero heavy lifting whatsoever. The defensive playmaking in the first half was huge from Grover Stewart and DeForest Buckner especially. But man, Darnold just feels like he can now throw that ball to Jordan Addison, which is a great ball and obviously a great catch.
It was a great catch.
And, when they take a risk late in the game and they throw it to their tight end there late, Josh Oliver, I mean, if that ball is incomplete, all of a sudden, that helps out the Colts, who are burning timeouts like no other, to try and save something there. Darnold can throw that ball. Again, career high for him, season high for Jefferson. They routinely are moving the football with relative ease. Certainly the Colts made some plays around the field goal area, but damn, I just would like to see a little bit more from the defense in those areas.
Was it 29 first downs, 17 passing, 10 rushing, and then 2 from penalties? I mean, that is substantial. At one point, it felt like, I'll go back, you guys made fun of me, the World Series, Yankees and Dodgers. It felt like the Dodgers had someone on second base the entire series. Last night felt like Sam Darnold was at midfield the entire game. Did it not feel like that way? Like they get a couple first downs and they get to midfield and eventually they would stall out or turn the ball over. And obviously a couple times they scored, but it just felt like to me that they were every single possession. It felt like they were putting pressure. Now, the flip side of that is, for large parts of the game, wasn't that kind of the Gus Bradley defense? Bend but don't break.
Right, which I just
got
don't
pressure
like.
with Buckner and Grover. I mean, that's what he kind of wants to do, is what you saw last night.
But it's just, to me, you are just playing a little bit behind the 8 ball when you do that. You're not,
sure
Minnesota has a defense that allows them to be in control. When that defense is clicking, and again, it's had some issues in the last couple of weeks, but when that defense is in control, Andy, it's 3 and outs, it's turnovers, it's sacks, it's giving its offense good field position. And that's where I don't think the Colts are fully utilizing what they could have offensively and defensively. That style of defensive coordinator, to me, is what you should seek out, what you should desire, because it's not this, we're going to bend but don't break. You might drive 60, 80 yards on us, but we're going to hold you to 3. There are dominoes that come off of that. And I think you see some of that in time of possession and just general control of the game. I felt like through 9 weeks this season, and I don't know necessarily if there's a black and white stat, maybe time of possession is, Andy, to indicate this, but it just seems like the other team is always in control against the Colts.
Oh, I would agree.
And I think that style of defense allows for some of that. Now, again, the bulk of today certainly needs to fall on Shane Steichen and Joe Flacco. If you look at last season, the Colts had that long run. They might have been the last team in the league to have a game under 20 points. Remember last year they had that streak of like 7, 8, 9 games of at least 20 points or more. They have not been over 20 in any of these last 4 games. So right now, I would argue Shane Steichen has an organizational issue at his hands at the most important position in sports. But here in the short-term immediacy of your offense, you've got a clear issue for the unit that he prides himself in.
Yeah, I mean, I feel stupid. I thought there was going to be a lot more scoring in this game. I thought the Colts were going to go down swinging a little bit more than they did. And I think what you have on top of it, KB, is you have a nasty mix here. You have a nasty cocktail, if you will. You have an offense that is not running enough plays, especially last night, 49 plays, and then you have a defense that also doesn't get off the field, right? That is very much a bend but don't break. So when you combine having a 5-play drive, a 4-play drive, a 3-and-out, a 7-play drive, a 5-play drive, a 4-play drive, and you just mush them all together, and then the way your defense plays is we're going to bend some but not break. That means there are first downs to be had, and you combine the two, and it's a nasty cocktail. Before we go to the phone lines, what do you think they will do? What should they do with quarterback? Do you have a firm opinion? Because I sit here on Monday not knowing what the hell they should do.
I mean,
I think Flacco's going to get another shot here against Buffalo.
Yeah, I was not a fan of the benching of Flacco, and obviously I'm still not a fan of it. But, boy, Shane Steichen's audio, and Mark, feel free to bring that up. I mean, post-game, the whole right now caveat, and didn't he go there twice, the right now?
Yeah, it's clips.
I'm trying to think what the follow-up question was.
Yeah, the two that we played was, does Flacco give you the best chance to win? And then after that, I think both were James Boyd of The Athletic. He was asked, is Flacco still your starter? You want to play those back-to-back? That'd be 2 and 3, Mark. Go ahead.
Is Flacco still your starting quarterback moving forward?
Right now, yes.
Shane, you said that Joe will give you the best chance to win. Do you still feel that way after the Heinz?
Yeah, right now, yes.
If you really want to get into Shane Steichen words, last Monday, I believe, he threw in the right now caveat.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
In regards to Anthony Richardson.
And then he benched him the next day.
Still being the starter, and then 12 hours later, it was Joe Flacco.
How's this date going, honey? Is this going well? Right now, yeah. It's going fine.
Yeah. How's Taylor Swift going? Well, right now it's going okay.
Hey, shut up. Stop talking over there.
I do think... I don't know if I would respect Steichen more if he... Can you imagine if he went back to Richardson after 1 week?
Well, then to me it would say, are we sure this wasn't a 1-game suspension for tapping out?
Would you say strong spine or no spine?
Oh, man, that's such a good question. I would say...
Because there is an element...
I would say no spine, I think.
I think there's an element in professional sports especially of, like, people in positions of authority struggle to admit their failures.
Oh, sure.
And I think that is such a key ingredient of, like, when you know your blueprint is not going according to plan or you should change it, are you humble enough to admit that you're wrong and detour? For example, I would argue Kevin Pritchard eventually got there with the Pacers with Domantas Sabonis and Miles Turner. That was a very important step for the franchise to say, all right, we've tried to do this, we've tried to do it, enough is enough. And now the Pacers logjam at center would look nice considering their
no
injuries
kidding.
there. But you know what I'm saying. Like,
right.
Would this be that? Would it?
Well, did they do that last week with Anthony Richardson? I mean, because they keep blowing up plans and narratives, right?
That is another way to look at it. I mean, some might say, hey, if they are right about Richardson after 10 starts, then sure, go ahead. Now, again, I there's a part of me that's just like the bad and the old at quarterback.
It's a bad mix.
Oh man,
no,
that's awful for your franchise.
I saw people that were, and just like random people on Twitter or buddies or whatever, that were like, okay, I'm willing to ride with this Flacco experience. And then after 1 game with what they saw last night, they're now ready to go back to Anthony Richardson. Which no matter how bad he's been, they're ready to go back to Anthony Richardson and just play the youth game and whatever happens.
Whether it's Minshew, whether it's Flacco, I mean, if you look at it, the record is eerily similar. With Richardson as a starter versus the other two, the point totals are eerily similar. Like, I feel like there's a bit of a misconception on like what Minshew and Flacco have given the Colts under Steichen. It's really not that different. And I think for those that watched last night, the one-dimensional nature of the offense just can't be ignored. I actually appreciated NBC at one point. They threw up the side-by-side of Flacco and Richardson next to each other as quarterbacks, and they just threw in the bottom Richardson's rushing yards.
Right. Well, you have to.
Right. It's like
you have to.
You can't ignore that, and that's why I was half serious earlier in the show when they got into that 3rd and 2 there late. I thought to myself, well, when they show Richardson, he's got his helmet on, do you run him out there for a short yardage play? Like, is this the time to try and go there when your offense is struggling mightily in a Joe Namath voice?
Why would you not do that? Like, unless you're punishing Anthony Richardson, it's nothing against Joe Flacco. Why would you not throw? Like, you're using all the tools in your tool belt. You have a tool belt? I actually do have a tool belt. I've never put it on, but someone bought me one many years ago. You're not using all your tools by sitting Anthony Richardson when you're picking up, 20% your third downs?
This is vivid memories of my dad putting on the tool belt and thinking, I'm not going to see him for 3 hours. Like, he's going to be in this garage.
I still have one.
Forever.
I think I may have sold it at our lawn sale a couple months ago.
Yes, but, boy, if I put on a tool belt, Maddie would probably
call
the cops on me.
She would think you're dressing up for Halloween.
Something.
Halloween was last week, Kevin.
Something along.
It's not this week.
I'm trying to impress the new neighbor, something along those lines. I feel like, well, boy, Steichen will talk a little bit later today for those curious because they got in late last night. I assume he will stay with Flacco, but those words last night, Andy, were weird. Well, right now, and I don't know if we'll play this audio today, but I thought Steichen had kind of an interesting answer to a Friday question about, we've heard some of this. I think John has brought it up in the afternoon, some of this chatter of was Richardson the Monday through Saturday standard of playing quarterback?
Right.
Okay, what does that mean? Does that mean you're not as committed as you should be? Does that mean, the extra third down meeting on a Tuesday, which is an off day, are you not there for that? Are you showing up late to meetings? Obviously, that would be a drastic sign. We saw Ezekiel Elliott, be a healthy scratch for the Cowboys with some of that stuff.
Which is a great story.
Is some of that not being there? So I felt like it was fair to ask Shane that question, and I did on Friday. And his answer of, I have not heard that.
What does that mean?
To me, again,
I thought it's the dumbest answer Steichen's given in a year and a half. I've not heard that, huh?
The most ringing endorsement there. And so it's just the Colts' words and the Colts' actions make no sense at quarterback right now.
Well, and this is what's frustrating for Colts fans. They didn't want to be the clowns of the NFL. They didn't want to be one of those teams that look like they're directionless and they don't know what they're doing. And it looks like they don't know what they're doing. You know what? I remember thinking that Friday quote was odd and wondering if we would ever get to that Friday quote. And I had not heard that. That's what he said. Yeah, well, we're asking you about what you have seen, not what you have heard from the outside.
Right.
Not what you have heard from us or, James Boyd or Joel A. Erickson or Stephen Holder, Nate Atkins or anybody else.
I mean, to me, it's a pitch you lob up there and you just very quickly,
You say, oh, no, that's not it. This is, Flacco gives us the best chance and that's what we're going to do. And that's what he would say.
And it's on the record and you move on from there. All right, let's hit some callers here. Mark, you said Max is on line one.
We'll start with him.
Max, love the name. Good Monday morning to you.
Hey, Kevin and Andy, long-time listener, first-time caller. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome.
I am at a loss for words, to be honest, with what is going on. I've been a Colts fan my whole life. I'm nearing 30, so I've seen the Manning years, seen the Luck years. There's a new emotion that I am feeling ever since the benching. And the only way I can describe it is trust. I cannot trust the football acumen of what this leadership has. Ballard, Steichen, I just can't fathom that they looked at this team, our defense, how atrocious it's been, the kicking game, the terrible offense, and they really thought that Flacco was going to be the answer. It just shows that they are so just short-sighted, and I feel like most Colts fans, we were on board for seeing Anthony Richardson fail at times and just work through the struggles of development. We all understood, but apparently leadership of the Colts did not. And for that reason, I just can't even trust. If they were to be brought back.
You shouldn't.
The new quarterback that will be here next year, because I don't believe AR will be the starter. As just history shows that won't be the case next year. If whoever the new quarterback is brought in next year, I can't even trust that the coach and the GM will do right by that quarterback. So it's got to be clean house. I feel like that for me and maybe a lot of Colts fans, that's how we feel. And I just have a lot of mistrust.
Thank you, Max. Appreciate the call and appreciate you listening.
I believe that there is a sense of they are flailing or they are grasping by doing the move that they did last week. Or, as we talked about, KB, they've been mandated that you guys need to go out there and you need to make the playoffs. I mean, it could be one of those. I want to ask you.
So where was that
throughout the last 6 months?
With the lack of moves, then?
I saw a still shot, and you tell me if I'm wrong. I don't believe this is the internet. Was Jim Irsay's daughter on the field behind Shane Steichen in the middle of the game? Is that normal?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
I know that really blew up. For those that I guess have missed that, she is on the sidelines every single game. I would argue she's been on the sidelines for, I would say, at least 2, maybe 3 years. And pretty much every practice we're at, she's there as well. So, yeah, that's Carly Gordon, Irsay Gordon, the oldest daughter. And I don't make as much of it as I think a lot of people nationally did. I think a lot of people are like, oh, my gosh, she's on a headset. She's calling plays. I think it is simply –
she's calling plays.
I mean, I saw people tweet about that last night. Which,
well, she might do a better job.
I was going to say, honestly, it might have been a better thing for the Colts last night. I think it is simply trying to, increase –
understandable.
To steal the word from Max, football acumen, if you will, and just continue to – try and learn more. So when the passing of the torch happens, it's there. So I don't make too much of it.
239-1070. John up next on the Fan on this Reaction Monday. John, go ahead, buddy.
Good morning, guys. Kevin, maybe I've missed this, but who's the quarterback's coach? I know in years past you had Jim Caldwell, who Peyton Manning gave a lot of credit to for his development, and Clyde Christensen. You would see these guys on the sidelines and interacting with the quarterbacks quite a bit. And I think to the extent that Anthony Richardson, I think, needs some solid mentorship. He's not really going to get that directly from his coach, who's got his plate full with other things. And Joe Flacco is, to the extent he's still trying to make his bones in the league, I don't think, he's the guy to do that either. But just in terms of somebody that Richardson could lean on as a mentor, someone that could say, hey, you don't tap out. Just his overall professional development. I think, that's a question I have at this point. So
yeah, John, it's Cam Turner is the quarterback's coach name. If you recall, Ron Turner, I think Fighting Illini. I think at some point there, some relation to that family. Norv, of course, is a Shane Steichen. Shane, I think first ever NFL head coaching or NFL coaching gig came under Norv Turner there. So yeah, Cam Turner was with Kyler Murray at one point in Arizona. I think even Cam Newton in Carolina. That's where some of that history is. Jim Bob Cooter, of course, is the offensive coordinator. I'd have to double check. I think Cam Turner is in the booth during games, and then Jim Bob Cooter's on the field. I think that's kind of how the Colts deploy coaches from that aspect of it. I think John's point there, Andy, about there's a lot on Shane's plate. I think that is I think that's very true, first off, and I think that's what makes this developmental project so difficult to achieve, because your head coach and your play caller is also the one that was such a believer in Anthony Richardson. Again, there are people high up in that Colts organization that weren't at that level of belief with Anthony Richardson.
It's his guy. Yeah.
So it's his guy. But then again, Monday through Saturday, that prep needs to be big time. And certainly Kevin O'Connell on the other side, he does that. I mean, he's one of these coaches that falls into that boat as well. I know John necessarily wasn't asking about this last night, but I would just say here, I think what was really hard to watch last night was Joe Flacco fail. And when I say Flacco, I'm throwing Steichen in with him. They failed you in the area that Richardson was kind of always going to be failing you in, of like third down moments, passing situations. There's going to be major question marks with Richardson. Yeah, by going to Flacco, you said that area will be cleaned up.
Right.
We know we'll probably be a little bit more one-dimensional.
Right.
We're going to lack the dynamic nature.
Yep.
But third down is not going to be, hey, we should maybe even send Rigoberto Sanchez out here on third down to punt it, which with Richardson at times you've almost felt that. But yet you go 3 of 11 last night. I've brought up all the third downs in the fourth quarter. You had 3 third downs in the fourth quarter on Minnesota side of the field, 1-score game. Flacco misses Pittman short. He then throws the pick to Byron Murphy, which is a terrible decision, terrible throw. And then the 3rd and 2, he decides to try to fit one into Pittman down the field when he has Trey Sermon available, check down. Those are Richardson mistakes. Like if you would have said, if you don't show me the quarterback but show me the plays, I would have said, oh yeah, was Richardson the QB there?
Oh, he's skipping a ball across the middle and everything else. I would have said, oh, Anthony Richardson's throwing the football.
That can't be the 39-year-old quarterback with how many starts that Joe Flacco has. So I think that was so damning about last night is you told us long-term goalposts don't matter. We're moving the short-term goalposts. These are the big – we're going to win. We're going to change this season. It's a 2-month run. We're going to find this quarterback that's going to ignite us on 3rd down because they got into some good 3rd down situations.
Sure they did.
Early on, they were in several 3rd and shorts, 3rd and manageables. So for Flacco to fail you there – oh, boy, that is even why I think I sit here on this Monday morning thinking...
It blew up in their face.
It's like if you told me the Colts lost last night, well, sure. I mean, Minnesota, I think it's one of the better environments in the league and et cetera, et cetera. But losing because your offense failed you so much, I think is truly damning on Shane Steichen's decision and how the last really 6-7 days have played out for the organization as a whole.
KB, I had the game 31-27. I thought we were going to walk in here and probably blame the defense and say that Joe Flacco did 2 or 3 things, 4 things that Anthony Richardson could not do. I was wrong. I didn't think we would come in here and say, boy, Joe Flacco sure as hell looked a lot like Anthony Richardson in those big moments. And I'm just so tired of hearing after the game how they just, well, why can't you take a shot down the field? I mean, this team... everything has to be perfect for them to throw the ball down the field. Let's get to a morning check down quickly. Go ahead, Mark.
The morning check down, brought to you by Marion University Football, pursuing another NAIA championship this season. Don't miss the on-campus action at Ascension St. Vincent Field. Visit NUnites.com for tickets.
All right, let me give you 2. Where can Joe Flacco improve? I thought this was interesting. Shane Steichen was asked that. Here's what he had to say post-game.
We'll go back and look at it. I mean, there might have been a few completions here and there that we could have had. But again, he's a calm guy that's been playing at a high level for a long time. So obviously a lot of faith in him.
Again, 21-13, your final. Next up, Buffalo. That early spread is at 5, KB. Over under at 47 right now in Vegas.
Have won 4 in a row.
Yes,
Buffalo's
they have.
61-yard field goal from Tyler Bass yesterday with 5 seconds left gave them the win over Miami. All right, Pacers in Dallas tonight. It's kind of a weird NBA schedule here on this Monday night. They're not playing on Election Tuesday, so they're staggering their start times. I think it's every 15 minutes.
Yeah, I saw that.
Around the league. So the Pacers playing in the Central Time Zone get stuck with a 9:45 Eastern tip, which is a very odd tip time to be playing in Dallas. The Mavericks did play last night. Their guys, Luka, Kyrie, Klay Thompson, remember, is a Maverick. They all played, and really they didn't get tested too much by the Magic. They beat them pretty handily. So I don't know how they'll treat back-to-backs, but their starters barely really played in the fourth quarter. And for the Pacers, they are reeling. They're not only 2-4 as a team, but their health very much in question. Isaiah Jackson torn Achilles on Friday night. He is out for the year.
God, I feel so bad for him, man.
Contract year.
This was his chance.
Yeah.
It really was. This was his shot, man.
So the depth at center tested. Miles Turner, of course, has been banged up a little bit early in the season. Aaron Nesmith won't play tonight, and we'll see about Andrew Nembhard. He is questionable. So, boy, you have all of those questions, Andy, and your star player, I would argue, has played anything but that here this season. And Tyrese Halliburton, as the Pacers squandered yet another fourth quarter lead on on Friday in New Orleans.
Local college football over the weekend. Indiana 47-10 should be top 10 college football rankings coming out tonight. Purdue losers now just 1-7 on the season in overtime to Northwestern 26-20. Your final there. College basketball starts today. Butler, Missouri State coming up at 6:45 on Fox Sports 1. Purdue and Texas A&M Corpus Christi 6 o'clock on the Big Ten Network. I didn't look it up. Is Notre Dame tonight?
Notre Dame's tomorrow.
Wednesday. Oh, they're Wednesday.
They're going to go Wednesday. Shout out to the Fighting Paul Casaros, IU Indy, getting there.
11 a.m., baby.
New era underway. 11 a.m., the first game of the college basketball season.
I love it.
Against IU Columbus. I was told they're an NAIA school.
Okay, well, good enough. They don't have a link on ESPN, so whatever they are, I can't see anything about them.
And the Stephanie White introductory presser will be later today.
Okay.
She's going to join us 9 o'clock tomorrow on the show.
We'll keep taking your phone calls, 239-1070. Your thoughts, Joe Flacco, Shane Steichen, the defense, and more. And on the other end, our GOATs of the weekend. We'll do it next. Appreciate you waking up with us. Wake up call right here. It's a Monday on The Fan.
We need a positive 90 minutes into the show. Finest play of A.D. Mitchell's career, right?
It was a nice play.
How about that toe tap?
I thought he was out of bounds. When I first saw it, I was like, wow, he's out of bounds.
O'Connell should have challenged it.
You think so? It was a bang-bang play. I mean,
I should say, when I saw the play happen live, I thought, oh, that's such a big play, you have to challenge that. It looked like, though, he got both of them down. That was a 2nd and 30, 22-yarder by A.D. Mitchell right on the Colts sideline. Again, unbelievable toe tap, and Joe Flacco followed that up with a pick.
That's what I was saying. I was like, that was the best play by A.D. Mitchell, and immediately Joe Flacco was like, here, I'm just going to toss this to you gently.
And then Sam Darnold said, watch this.
Yeah, it was a very bizarre three-play sequence.
He gently sent one back. Boy, listen, I know Sam Darnold was fine last night, but that's, Minnesota knows that's not going to work, right? Like, they know that's not going to work. Like, you have to. It's fun. You're 6-2. But Sam Darnold is going to either lose games down the stretch or you're going to get in the postseason and you're going to lose. I mean, you just are. It's Sam Darnold. I love Chris Collinsworth. It's like he walks into a room and he's a Midwest feel. I'm like, the whole thing on that guy is he grew up in SoCal, went to USC, and had blonde hair.
A career high.
Midwest.
The 69th start of Sam Darnold's career. And last night, a career high, 82% completion percentage for Darnold. I didn't love Justin Jefferson one-on-one on a critical third down there. Samuel Womack's had a very nice season.
Yeah, that's a tough
spot. I think that's quite the ask of him there. Big play. Jefferson had 5 catches of at least 20 yards last night, a season high in yards for him.
You wanted to say, hey, give me something positive. I'm not doing that. What should be the conversation around Matt Gay? Like, I don't know. Are we going to harp on it that he missed a 50-some yard field goal? Are we not? I mean, at that point, it would have been 10-0. I'm grasping here because, I don't know if I don't trust Matt Gay, but, I don't know what you do when a guy's missing a 53-yard field goal. It's also not the end of the world.
He was good from 42, sneaking that one in there. Good from 54 at the end of the game. They did one of those clock things where they try to kick the quick field goal and then do the onside kick. I think we all probably should just sign a form that says Matt Gay is not giving you a return on investment.
And just move on. Yeah, I mean, that's it.
But, again, he's not missing the short kicks.
Right.
That usually is, the egregious, okay, are you going to do something to kicker? For what it's worth, was it last week Spencer Schrader got signed to the Jets practice squad? Didn't the Jets have, an injury with Greg Zuerlein, and they
instead of just cutting him.
Schrader kick on Thursday night, right?
Yeah, I love how the Jets will, get rid of their coach, but, no, we're not going to get rid of the kicker. We just won't cut the kicker. Okay, just cut the kicker. What are we doing?
Anything for the trade deadline last night? Any implications on that?
No.
Again, in the Chris Ballard era, the Nyheim Hines for Zach Moss trade is the only one in season. I believe Trent Richardson is the only one in the last 15 years prior to that. So in-season trades are rare for the Colts. I'd say they're largely rare in the NFL. Granted, we've seen a good amount of them here over the last couple of weeks. NFL trade deadline is tomorrow.
Oh, I expect.
As we count votes, will we be packing any bags for the Colts?
I mean, do you expect something? I expect nothing. I do think it could be a relatively busy trade deadline. I mean, there are some mid-level guys who obviously have nice contracts that could be moved, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, what would they even do? I mean, they didn't do anything in free agency. I mean, you tell me.
Well, yes, obviously, based off their actions over last week, if you're a win now, then shouldn't that mean you make a win now move here at the deadline? I've always looked at it from the flip side. If you are not a serious threat, I look at it and say, hey, guys, you are probably not going to re-sign in contract years, especially if you have a young player you'd like to see more from, then I'd look at selling that. Now, again, I don't think anyone necessarily jumped Dayo Dangbo to me. Looks like a guy you should probably re-sign.
Well, I was going to say, does anyone fit that mold? Blackman's on a 1-year deal.
Julian Blackman's on a 1-year deal.
Yeah, but I mean, are you going to, to me, you're waving the white flag if you get rid of a guy. I mean, he's a team leader and a really good player. To me, you're not win now if you sell off Julian Blackman.
Part of me thinks even it's just a waste of a combo.
Yeah,
just
I agree.
The whole trade deadline in general, I'd be surprised, but that'll be something to keep an eye on. Should we hit our goats?
Yeah, let's do it.
Who is the GOAT?
I told you all that I was the greatest of all time.
Jordan, here's Michael at the foul line. A shot on Elo. Good!
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's MVP! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Or GOAT?
This guy sucks.
Of the week.
I'm going first.
Go ahead.
I'm going negative.
Go ahead.
Maddie disagrees with me.
Okay, I like this.
I think it's depressing as hell how dark it gets early. She says it's good because the kids will go to sleep easier.
Oh, listen.
5:15?
I wish you wouldn't have told me that.
I'm checking my phone, being like,
it's
what
terrible.
in the world?
Dude, it's terrible. It's terrible.
Like
I don't know what to tell people. Plus, yesterday, it's like, oh, you can sleep in. You get another hour of sleep. Yeah, well, a lot of adults don't sleep in. If you have kids, you guys know more than I do. They're not sleeping in.
My kids were up at 6 a.m. yesterday.
And so I felt like to get to 1 o'clock in the NFL Sunday was an entire day.
Yeah, I thought it was a battle.
It's terrible.
I don't like it.
No, of course you don't like it.
To me.
It's 5 o'clock and it's dark outside. No, I get to 7:30 and it's dark out. I'm like, it's bedtime. And it's 7:30. That's how I feel when the time changes. It's disgusting. Here's my bad. I have two, and they're from the same game, and everything's from the Penn State-Ohio State for me. So I have two, and I have not done this my time here in Indianapolis, but I got to vent for a second, okay?
You gonna rip Coach Franklin?
Well, I mean, number one, that's one of them. I mean, the guy never wins a big game. He always gets into it with a fan. He is James Franklin is quite frankly a loser at times. I hate to do that. He can win you 9 games, but that is as far as that guy is going to get you. So they're not going to, I don't think they'll make the college football playoff. So that'd be number one. And then the second one was, I know Ohio State won, but I had a bet. Yeah, I'm doing the gambling thing. I know Hammer's going to be in here on Thursday. I had the team total for Ohio State football, KB, at 23.5. Okay? And Will Howard, did you see this game? Did you see him fumble at the 1 yard line?
Yeah,
He fumbled at the 1 yard line out the back of the end zone. He also missed a wide open receiver, and I believe also Jeremiah Smith dropped a touchdown. I mean, everything that went against me for the better part of 3 quarters went against me, and I don't hit my over bet. I was very upset, but a nice win for Ohio State, who hosts Purdue, so they get a bye week before they get ready for Indiana.
Did you guys see that spread?
Oh, God, what is it?
You want to take a guess?
God, could it be in the 30s? I was going to say
Mark Dykton, Purdue and Ohio State spread as well.
I was going to say 28.5.
You guys are usually all over this. 28.5 from Andy Sweeney. Mark
I'll say 31.5.
35.5. You're looking at us.
38.5. Ohio State
Lord.
favored over Purdue this weekend.
You going to take Purdue as your lock of the week?
Don't
Certainly, there's no way.
Third time's a charm, right?
Ohio State, they're going to have a letdown after that big game. Certainly.
Mark, negative go to the week.
Matt Eberflus, I am done with you, sir, and your stupid beard.
What about
you
Waldron
are done.
Stupid beard.
You need to
what about
leave.
Shaky
Andy
hands?
calls James Franklin a loser.
You are
Mark
such a
calls
loser.
a stupid
You are a
beard
horrific head coach that continues to make mind-numbingly dumb decisions. You needed to win in the worst way yesterday against the Cardinals after that horrible Hail Mary finish against the Commanders.
That was a big
Instead,
game.
the Bears got smoked by the Cardinals in the desert, where it also rained and hailed in a domed stadium. Figure that out. The Bears are 14-28 on his watch. They are 3-17 on the road with him since 2022.
Wow,
a point differential of minus 161 and an 0-18 record on Sundays on road games. Which, Sundays, the day that, most NFL games happen to be played on.
0-18 on the road on Sundays?
Yes.
Wow. So he's won a Thursday game or a Monday game?
And the announcer said they threw that stat at him at pre-show meetings, and he tried to defend, we won in London against the Jaguars. And that wasn't a road game, technically. That was a home game. He was trying to defend it. He wanted one win in that column, and he couldn't get it.
Yeah, that was a sneaky big game.
Clown.
That was a sneaky big game.
Is Arizona leading the NFC West?
Yes. Arizona, not terrible. Seattle, I'm so far done with the Seahawks.
Very quickly, our positive goats of the week went with Rosie and her cousin and a friend to the Butler Stetson game. First off, Tony Dungy, man of the people, just sitting in the crowd. I just love him. Just like one of,
like
one of the normal parents. The Butler Bowl on a nice fall Saturday, awesome place to watch a game, especially you got young kids. Guys, run up and down the hill. Oh, my gosh, entertainment for hours.
Wears them out.
Oh, wears them out.
Ready to go to sleep.
Absolutely perfect. Views, unbelievable with the fall colors. Could not encourage that more. They've got a home game coming up here, one more on November 16th, Butler Bowl on a Saturday.
All right, I'll be quick. Mine is Jason Kelsey. He was there at the Ohio State-Penn State game. Some jackass kid called his brother Travis a homophobic slur. Jason turned around, grabbed the dude's phone, and smashed his phone. And I am not on the Kelsey's ascension. I'm a little bit tired of them, even though they are everywhere and are going to be everywhere going forward for a number of years and decades probably. But Jason Kelsey won it for me. He smashed the dude's phone. The kid thought he could get away with talking trash, and he got a little humble pie in his face, and I loved it. So that's my good go to the weekend.
Lions walking into Lambeau and smoking the Packers and winning the last 3 meetings at Lambeau Field. That was solid to me. The Lions, the best team in the NFC right now.
The Packers should have sat Jordan Love.
I'll take the Lions and Chiefs. So you guys get the field to win the Super Bowl. You taking me, Lions, Chiefs, or are you taking the field?
I'll take Lions and Chiefs. I've been down this road before where people have asked me, would you take the Chiefs or anybody else? And I take everybody else, and I lose every week.
I'm feeling kind of stupid. I'm starting to like the Ravens a lot all of a sudden.
Okay.
Interesting.
Well, I mean, Lamar's always great in the regular season. The question is, can he do it in the postseason? It's a fair
we'll see
question.
if the undefeated Chiefs
He's awesome.
can keep it going tonight. Again, Chiefs and Bucks. Speaking of Mr. Kelsey, you'll see that tonight,
Yep.
8:15, Monday Night Football.
239-1070. We'll take your phone calls. We'll do it next here on The Fan on this Monday.
Yeah, honestly, the whistle was a favorable one on the play, but Grover Stewart threw that dude out of the bleeping club. That is Garrett Bradbury.
I love it.
Former first-round pick.
Poor guy.
300-pounder that Grover just throws on his ass, and then, semi-club Sam Darnold to jar that ball loose. Kenny Moore, who else? Right place, right time, scoops it up, returns it for a touchdown, the only score in the first half. Andy Sweeney, if I could, and again, I've said earlier, I think the defense getting a hair too much credit, frankly, for last night. But that play, what I loved about it was it came right after the Justin Jefferson throwback to Aaron Jones.
Yeah, which was a crippling play.
Right. That can be kind of a back-breaking 3rd and 16 trick play moment. Gus Bradley then blitzed on first down. What happens? They catch Minnesota in a deep play-action drop.
Well, of course, Minnesota was surprised. They've never seen that on film. What? A first down blitz by Gus Bradley, my God.
Kenny Moore and E.J. Speed come on that blitz. That creates Grover Stewart single team, and the rest is history. Hell of a play there by Big Grove.
Yeah, Big Grove was good, and then on top of it, you had DeForest Buckner, who also, I know they continue to ramp him up. Now, I don't know what yours would be, but I do appreciate the quick grave digger celebration from DeForest Buckner.
Yes, he's very quick with that.
He's been going to that for, it seems like, many years. That's his go-to, is D-Buck. So, no, those two had a great first half.
If I asked you for other individuals you'd put in a positive category,
oh, boy.
Do you stop there?
Maybe Josh Downs?
Yeah.
I mean, I tell you, someone messaged us, and they're not wrong. The offensive line's going to be ignored today. The offensive line has been...
Braden Smith, some very untimely penalties. I thought the chop block was a bit of an iffy call there, but I thought Matt Gonzalez actually decent. The O-line really wilted late on that final... Flacco gets sacked 3 times on that final drive. Seemingly, he was on the ground. But, Braden Smith. And again, Andy, this gets into the big picture awkward nature to the Colts. What's the plan at the most important position in sports is back on the table, and you're also getting old with some of your better players.
Right.
These guys are nearing 30, are 30, making a lot of money. Braden Smith, does that conversation need to be had at the end of the season? I mean, he seemingly practices once a week and then is asked to play, and he makes a lot of money. These are the difficult conversations. Yes, in 2022, you felt like some of these guys were still prime-ish. Well, now 2 years later,
it's different.
They're walking up more of that back nine, so that's part of it as well.
No, I think you have 2-3 guys that you're going to have serious conversations with, or you're not, and that's just going to be the end of their time here in Indy. 239-1070. Let's go to Mark up next here on the Fan on this Monday. Mark, fire away, buddy. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. Hey, listen, I'm 54 years old. I've been a Colts fan my whole life. And I don't know. I mean, it just seems like they're lost right now. And I've seen them lost before. But benching Richardson just told me that he's not good enough. So why did you pick him 4th? And I would rather lose with Richardson than have 39-year-old Flacco the rest of the way. I mean, let's just ride or die with it at this point. See what you got.
That's where I'm at, Mark. Because, Andy, to me,
appreciate it, Mark.
They don't think they're done with Richardson. But if you
so they say.
No, I actually
you believe them.
I think they believe they can go back to him at some point, probably in September 2025. Where I would say is, what if you play him the next 2 months, and it continues to look like it's looked for the first 10 starts, and that arrow again, which is pointing down right now with Richardson, what if it continues to point down? What if it looks even uglier? Now all of a sudden, at the end of this year, you might have clarity. You might say, hey, guys, we can't put him out there September 2025. If all of a sudden we get to the draft, and I brought up this analogy last week, Kansas City didn't walk into the Mahomes draft thinking quarterback. Baltimore didn't walk into the Lamar Jackson draft. Baltimore and Buffalo made the playoffs the year Kansas City might have. I'd have to double check that. Baltimore and Buffalo made
they had Alex Smith, who was winning like 13 games a year at one point.
And they traded up, 17-some spots to get Mahomes. Baltimore and Buffalo, again, they were playoff teams the year before Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. So if all of a sudden you get to April and somehow a quarterback domino happens and you think, hey, here's our opportunity, that little birdie, wait, we still have Richardson. If you play him the rest of the season, you might get that clarity. You might have universal convincing through the organization, whereas I think they look at it and say, hey, whatever. He needs a mental break, however they want to describe it, professional growth, and then they're going to go all in on this, hey, fundamental strip down in the offseason. Let's get him as a better passer, and let's get to September 2025. Again, that sounds very Hollywood-like.
Good luck selling that.
Sounds very dreamy, but I think that's the route they're going to go. But to Mark's point, you play him, and either he gets more of these great reps, which will help him in the future, or it goes poorly, and now you're not sitting here holding on for dear life in year 3.
The only kickback I would give you is this regime cannot make the next quarterback decision. That's just
a fair point.
That's my thing. It can't be.
That's fair.
And listen, if Steichen is tied to Ballard, so if Ballard were to go, then that means Steichen has to go. Or is Steichen, going to work with the new general manager for like a year, and then that's an odd relationship. I don't know. What I do know is the same brass that gave you a trade for Carson Wentz, and the same brass that did all the Matt Ryan stuff, and the same group that gave you Anthony Richardson, and then has you flailing in year number 2 under AR cannot. They can't get another shot at the quarterback. You get 1 or 2, you don't get 4 or 5. Paul up next on the Fan on a Monday. Paul, fire away.
Yes.
Paul.
Yeah, what's up, fellas?
Go ahead, man.
The benching of Richardson and playing Flacco, not good. I didn't want it when it happened, and they screwed this whole thing up. Because, one, you've taken Richardson's confidence away. 2, you put in the quarterback knowing that the running game was going to suffer and we wouldn't be able to run and it was going to be one-dimensional. And then another thing, Flacco looked like an absolute rookie out there playing his game. I don't understand why he was back there the whole game. It just baffled me how Shane Steichen could not see what's going on and say, okay, we need a change of pace. Let's put Richardson in to open up this run game. But instead, he stuck with that game, and the offense generated no offense at all. You got the ball deep in their territory because the defense took it away, and the only thing you could do was move it a few yards and come up with 3 points. Absolutely ridiculous.
Paul, hope the mail route treats you well today.
He's
Thank you, as
up.
always, for the passion. Don't know if it's the best analogy, but I feel this way about Tyrese Halliburton and the Pacers, Andy. Halliburton is so poor on defense, the offensive standard is higher for him. Contractually, of course, it's high, but you have got to hold him to the offensive standard because defensively he's going to give up some buckets. With Flacco at quarterback, the run game is not going to be as potent.
Right.
So you have to hold him to a higher standard from a passing game standpoint. And last night, that passing offense was Anthony Richardson-like.
Yeah.
It was
misreads.
Bad turnovers.
It was bad throws, misreads.
It was really bad on third down. And it's not like he was missing. Richardson's misses have largely been, third and, 10 down the field, highly contested ball. It's not there. Flacco, I felt like missed some check down type stuff that, again, he's playing to help you out in that area. And that's where I think the critique and the criticism here on this Monday morning, to me, is just at a higher level than I even thought it would be because I thought Flacco was so poor last night in the passing offense in general. 3 of 11 on third down?
I know.
Minnesota's the 30th ranked pass defense in the league.
It's not good. They just allowed Matthew Stafford to carve him up. A couple different teams to carve him up. Stay on hold. 239-1070. Darren, Dave, and James will get to you on the other end. 9 o'clock hour around the corner. Our weekend headlines. We'll get to that in a half an hour. Appreciate you waking up with us. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
The Fan.
Darnold goes out of the gun. 3rd and 3 at the 16 of the Colts. Jones is his back to the right side. Ball in the right hash. 3 receivers deployed to the left. Darnold looks that way. Hitches. Now he squirms out of the pocket, rolling left. He's at the 20. Fires upfield into the end zone. Picked off at the goal line by the Colts. It's Zaire Franklin. Oh, what a gift. Darnold under center. Play action. Deep drop. Here comes the rush by the Colts, and they ring him around the neck. The ball is out. They're going the other way with it. Kenny Moore has it. He's at the 10. He's at the 5. Touchdown on defense for the Colts. Darnold waiting on a shotgun snap. Takes it. Backs the throw. Looking left. Hitches. Here comes the rush by the Colts.
Got him.
And they gobble him up again. This time, DeForest Buckner brings Sam Darnold to the turf. Reichert examining. There's a snap. Placement. Kick is up. And this one is off the right upright. Oh, boy.
He missed it.
1st and goal at the 4. Darnold under center. Jones is the lone back. Unbalanced line to the right side. Ball in the left hash. Darnold fakes to nobody. Here comes the rush. They throw into the end zone. A diving attempt on the ball. And that's Addison, and he's got it. Wow. How did he make that grab as he gave maximum effort? Darnold backs to throw. Here comes the rush. He's taking a shot downfield. And that is an over-the-shoulder basket catch by Justin Jefferson. He made it on Samuel Womack inside the 5. And he'll tumble out of bounds at the 2-yard line for a gain of about 40. Shotgun snap for Darnold. Here comes the pass rush. He throws left into the end zone. Caught, touchdown. And it's Jalen Naylor. Flacco backs to throw, plants in the pocket, and throws it to the left, and it's picked off. Darnold on play action, sails it upfield. This time it's picked off. It's Nick Cross. Nick Cross gets it right back for the Colts. 4th and 2 for the Colts at the plus 40-yard line. Colts are down by 4. Huge play here with 5:24 to go in the 4th quarter. Flacco out of the gun. Backs the throw. Looking over the middle. It's Ashton Dillon. Incomplete. Broken out of there by Harrison Smith. The Colts on 2 straight plays pass with only needing 2 yards to get a first down at the plus 40-yard line, and they turn the ball over with 5:20. Booting left is Darnold. Throws into the end zone, wide open touchdown. That's a tight end, and it's Josh Oliver. He's got a touchdown in back-to-back games. And that might do it.
I got to keep looking at, what we're doing offensively. You know what I mean? We got 8 left. We're halfway through the year now. And just kind of look at, scheme stuff and what we're doing, and we'll go from there. Right now, yes.
A loss in the long term, a loss in the short term. I'll call that the old double whammy, and that is life with Joe Flacco right now, and the results get even more scrutinized. Good Monday morning to you. Thank you for spending it with us. If you went to bed at halftime last night, you won. You started the week off right. You now have saved some energy potentially for the Pacers tonight at 9:45. Granted, I don't know if you want to do that. But nonetheless, it is 21-13 last night. Andy Sweeney, the backdoor one-possession game by the Colts. Onside kick attempt failed, and now they are 4-5. It is the second time this season they have suffered consecutive losses. They only did that for one stretch last year.
Yeah, you mentioned life with Joe Flacco, or just life on how the Colts is going. It doesn't look good for the future, and it's not good for the present. I feel bad for the guy that did the family stuff. First of all, your kids are waking up early because of the time change. Everyone's kids are up at 6 a.m., okay, or before. Hopefully you at least got to 6, 7 a.m. So it's been a long day. I don't know if you watched all the 1 o'clock games. It felt like it took an eternity to get to the 1 o'clock games. I don't know if you had to rake some leaves around the house or what you did. You get ready, you got your beer, you got maybe a little glass of bourbon, you sit down at 8:15, you're getting ready for some Sunday night football, and you stay up to damn near midnight to see your team not be able to do a thing on offense and have Joe Flacco not be very good. And quite frankly, we've done it this morning, KB, and we've questioned Shane Steichen as well. And so, I hate to use the word flailing, but, with the Bills coming into town a couple weeks, you get, the Detroit Lions, who are just absolutely crushing teams this season. Obviously, Green Bay was the newest team to kind of get in the way of them. It's not good. And if Buffalo walks in here and they put you 4-6 on the season, we can start having the conversations about next year and maybe even playing Anthony Richardson because of that. So the short term's not good. The long term's confusing and murky. That's probably the best word that I think this morning is this season and this organization. The direction is a tad murky on this Monday.
Yeah, and it is. Last night was not the time to have your worst offensive night of the season.
No.
No,
not when you do what you did.
As much it was opponent-wise, but also optically. I mean, you don't make that decision and then, poop the bed, in prime time offensively. And that's exactly what happened last night for you. So I thought you could make an argument that was Shane Steichen's poorest hour as a head football coach, and it's probably more offensive play caller. I didn't think there was necessarily management situations that he handled poorly as a head coach, but as the offensive guru, if you will, just a really, really bad effort. And again, I know some might push back on this, and that's fine, but you could make an argument Anthony Richardson would have given you a better chance to win last night than Flacco because you were one-dimensional. And the one-dimensional stunk.
Yeah.
So,
it's not a stupid argument. You can disagree with it, but it's not a stupid argument.
And that shouldn't be on the table.
No.
When you make that decision last week and you say, long-term, see you later. I'll talk about you in January 2025. We're about the short term. We're about the win now. It is about this football team. We feel like we're a playoff team, whatever. We can get back into the AFC South. Hell, if you want to be uber optimistic, Houston gave you open the door a little bit on Thursday Night Football for you. You win last night. Now you put pressure on Houston. Who does Houston have this week? I think it's Detroit. All those things kind of add up for you there.
It is Detroit. Ooh, boy,
and
good
yet,
luck.
You don't have that ability to, keep the door open in the AFC South. So, just really, really disappointed. Steichen, Flacco. There are some questions right now for Shane. Last year, Andy, no matter the quarterback, and again, Jonathan Taylor was not this Jonathan Taylor. You found, I would say, consistent offensive success on a pretty week-in, week-out basis. That has not been sniffed. You haven't scored over 20 in any of the last 4 games. Major questions for Shane Steichen and company right now.
You know what the saddest thing that's going to happen is, Houston lost to the Jets, this past week. What was it, Thursday Night Football? Right. Listen, I don't think there's a way they're going to beat the Lions. In a one-game thing, anything can happen. So let's say they lose to the Lions. So now the Houston Texans are 6-4. What happens when you face the Lions, KB? You lose the next week. Hasn't that happened to everyone who has faced the Detroit Lions this year? Is they have come back the next week and they have lost. Okay, so if that continues, and that's just a trend, okay, I'm not saying it's going to, but let's pretend that it does. You're going to be looking at a Houston team that very well could be 6-5 here in just a couple weeks. That's not crazy to say, and you're not going to be able to take advantage of it. We talked about, upcoming for the Colts, home Buffalo, at the Jets, and I guess we'll see today or tomorrow if that's going to be flexed out of Sunday Night Football. But you have Buffalo, and then at the Jets, and then you get the Lions on Sunday, November 24th. I bring this up because we had the conversation a couple different times earlier this year that could you get to Sunday, December 1st at 6-6? Could you be 6-6 with New England, Denver, Tennessee, the Titans are terrible, the Giants are terrible, and Jacksonville, who lost yet again yesterday? In other words, 5 weeks to go in the season. You're 6-6. It gives you an opportunity to dream about, hey, if we can get hot here, the schedule's not too much of a bear. I know Denver is much better than what we thought they were going to be before the season. Now I look at that at 4-5 and think you got to go 2-1. And you got to beat Buffalo or Detroit to get there, and I just don't see how they do it. They're a 5-7 football team going into December. That's what they'll be.
If you want to live in that playoff world for a brief second, I don't find the need to do it much longer than that here after last night's result. The Jets and the Broncos. Those are the 2 games. Yeah. And, obviously all of them matter to a degree when you're 4-5, but Jets and Broncos, those are the 2. That Broncos game, that could very well be for the final wild card spot, depending on how all of this plays out. One thing I want to note here, and this, again, Andy, is probably a little bit more big picture, but when you read off the schedule, and right now you're an underdog on Sunday, you're probably going to be a small underdog at New York next Sunday night. You're going to be an underdog against Detroit here in a couple of weeks. If this November goes down that path, how does Jim Irsay view it? And, asking that question, how Jim Irsay views anything, is probably a little bit ludicrous.
It's a great question,
but
right?
If you are an owner of a business and you have a long-term view and a short-term view, if both of those blow up in your face, what does that say about the people in those spots? Now, again, there has been plenty of evidence, I would argue, in the last couple of years to make such a decision with Chris Ballard. But Jim Irsay has elected not to do that. And last week, when this stuff started to play out, the benching, the et cetera, more the short-term focus, I listed out to you these goals. If you live in the big picture goal of this season, which some people do, all about Richardson's development, okay, that goal has largely failed. Okay, put that to the side. Let's live in the short-term goals. Week 1 drought, still continuing. The drought in Jacksonville, still continuing. Trying to beat the best team in your division, well, you got swept by the Houston Texans. Trying to win the division, again, right now, that looks unlikely. Trying to make the playoffs, we'll see. I mean, I guess it's a coin flip. Maybe after last night, it's a little less than a coin flip. But, when those two separate pools, big picture goals and short-term goals, when both of those have drowned, if you're Jim Irsay, how do you not start with Chris Ballard and say, wait a minute, neither of those approaches worked. We, pulled the plug on the long term.
What are you selling going into 2025?
Yes, exactly. So
good luck.
That, again, at 4-5, there is still 8 games to go, and there is still season to be salvaged. But if last night becomes the norm, as you now have begun the hardest month of the season, that question to me needs to be very relevant for the owner.
Well, there's a question. I have a question and a statement, then we'll go back to your phone calls, 239-1070. My question would be, and I don't know the answer to this, and I'm sorry, I don't believe that benching Anthony Richardson was 100% Shane Steichen. I don't believe it. That's fine. Ultimately, I could be wrong. I'm not saying it was all Jim Irsay, but I need to know last week why they changed up. They went from development to, no, we're going to go ahead and win now. Why? What's the why behind that? Is it Jim Irsay? I mean, is it Jim Irsay saying, hey, you guys need to make the playoffs? Is it Jim Irsay? Before the season, KB, I remember you asking, Nate or Joel or James or Steven or Holder or any of these guys that we've had on, and you ask about the hot seat to Chris Ballard. Okay, publicly it's never been put out there, but what if behind the scenes there is a mandate of, hey, you need to make the playoffs this year. And we can go back to where was that in the offseason? Where was that during the draft? All these different times where you could acquire players and get free agents. But if something changed, okay, then I feel like we need to know, because that would lead me to have a better feel on what the thinking is with the brass right now with the Colts. And my statement is, whatever they try to sell you next year, okay, I don't think I think Colts fans will lose their mind if Ballard gets yet another shot at the quarterback position. Whether that's free agency, whether that's the draft, whether you try to peddle Anthony Richardson out there that he has improved in some sort of way, but definitely the first two. Whether that be signing a quarterback and there's, like a Sam Darnold might be available, or making a trade, or going in the draft and using high draft capital, good draft capital again to go get somebody. I just, as a franchise, you cannot allow that to happen. It goes back to the storyline that we've talked about for so long, and KB, you've talked about it for years around here. What does Jim Irsay think about his general manager going forward? And has that fundamentally changed in the last 7 to 8 days, which is why they changed from, hey, it's about developing a young quarterback, to, oh no, we need to win now and we feel like we can go make the playoffs. Those are two different stances.
Mark, let's head to the phone lines. Let's go to James. He's been hanging in there for a bit. James, good Monday morning to you. Thank you for the call.
Good morning, guys.
What do you got?
Well, what I'm really thinking about here is, as bad as we played, bad as the quarterback play was, Shane Steichen last year, I never doubted a bit. But this year, I can tell you, I believe we would be in first place right now, as poorly as we played, if it wasn't for 2 terrible calls. And it cost us, I think, the first game of the year against Houston with that we went for 4th and 5. We don't kick the field goal, and we lose by 2. Say maybe that one, but right before the half on that last Houston game, I sat there. I'm an old man, and I said, you know what? You need to take the knee. He just about threw an interception right there. They need to take the knee. I said that. I mean, and that may have been stupid, but they could have handed off, done anything else, and gone into that halftime tied up. Did not make sense. 34 seconds. They're on the 12-yard line, and he throws a pass on 3rd down. 34 seconds to go on the 12-yard line of Houston. It does not make sense. I mean, I'm not a football man, but I knew better than to try that. And I just believe, and Flacco did not look bad until last night. Their defense had to be great, but I still don't believe that. I think we still need to get with Richardson, let him go. If we, I don't think we gave the season away on those 2 Houston games. That's what I believe.
James, thank you for the call. That was certainly a last Monday conversation. I think I said this to you last Monday, Andy. The 3rd and 3 decision was one of the more audible moments I've had watching a Colts game in quite a while. Of like, I cannot believe.
I agree with you.
They did not surrender there, the white flag. And James laid it out there. And again, for those that want to rehash that moment, you get the ball to start the 3rd quarter. It's a tie score. Richardson just nearly throws the pick on 2nd down. You're very unlikely to get into field goal range. Don't give me the exact comparison of the week prior. You were down 10-0 against Miami. You didn't get the ball to start the 3rd quarter of that game. To me, it was not apples and apples. So, yes, Shane Steichen, I mean, probably the poorest back-to-back stretch of his career. I mean, you go back last year, they lost, 3 in a row there in the middle of the season. If I'm not mistaken, they still were scoring a decent amount of points because, we always have more of the offensive focus with Steichen. Last year is Saints, Browns, and I'm trying to think what the other loss was middle of the season, maybe Jags, and they still were scoring a decent amount. You go back to week 1 and week 2, week 1, you put up 26 points, 27 points, something like that.
27 points, yeah, seems foreign at this point.
I mean, right here, right now, Andy,
for that.
It's the double whammy. It's the game management that James points out with that call of last week, and then yesterday in general, it was just offensive ineptness. So yes, I think the Shane Steichen criticism, and again, I've been a Shane Steichen, I think he's a pretty good coach, but certainly right now, you would not have very good recent evidence for that at all. He's been a big reason why you now have another 2-game losing streak.
The 4 wins the Colts have: Bears, Steelers, Titans, and Dolphins. If we were playing this week and they were playing any of those 4 teams, do they beat all 4 of those teams? Because I'd say they probably lose to the Steelers and Dolphins if they were to play this weekend. Like that's how you feel about your team. Are some of the win? I guess probably not. The Bears after the last 2 weeks at Chicago.
Got to be Mark's Bears, right? Especially if it's a road game on a Sunday.
Yeah, I
they
told
don't
you
win
the
those.
Eberflus
And
numbers.
Mason Rudolph is a winning quarterback in the NFL. He won. By the way,
they did beat the Patriots, didn't they?
Did you see that Drake May play? Drake May's not terrible. He's interesting. He might be pretty good.
Yeah, Colts will see them here in a month. I think right now we have a much more of a front and center Shane Steichen issue question than I would say we've had in the year and a half he's been the head coach.
Agreed. Let me give you one other thing before we go back to the phone lines. And I don't want this. I'm calling my shot here because there is a lot of, it's a 1-score game. And, I don't care at all that they kicked a field goal to make it a 1-score game. I want to be clear. That matters to me very little, but I've heard that be kicked around the last several hours. After the season, because Ballard did this last year, you cannot sell people that, you had a bunch of close losses. Like the last caller, and he's not wrong. He brings up a couple instances. If they're different, there's a couple different results, and now suddenly you're a winning football team. That is life in the NFL. I mean, I could also go to, it would have been nice week 2 if Gus Bradley in the first half didn't have a defense that got gashed by Malik Willis and Josh Jacobs. That also would have been nice. It would have been nice in week 5 to not have Jacksonville have the best offensive game that they're going to have all season and allow Brian Thomas to have a wide open touchdown and have Trevor Lawrence and Bigsby run all over you, right? And it was still a 3-point game. And to me, at the end of the year, if they win 8 games, like right around 8 games, and that's where I probably have them slotted right now, if they win around 8 games, it's going to be, well, there's a play here and a play there, and don't you know that if AR can come back and develop and we can turn around those 3 or 4 plays, we can be a playoff team, not knowing that that's what mediocre teams do. They don't show up in those 5-6 plays that it takes to actually make the postseason. I can already see that happening this offseason. I'll bet you whatever that's going to be the narrative that they try to peddle out there. Well, it's a few plays here or there, and we would have been a playoff team. Okay.
That can't be a thing. It's like me applying to Notre Dame and being like, do you know how big of a fan I am? And then them being like, wait, have you seen your resume?
Yeah, it's got to be a little bit better than that.
A lot of extracurriculars here, a lot of strong GPA.
Darren up next on the Fan, then we'll get to a morning check down.
But I know everybody on the basketball team. That should help me out.
I love Micah Shrewsbury. Darren, fire away, buddy.
Hey, question. This copycat league I hear all the time. Is anybody copying Gus Bradley's defensive philosophy? And as far as that working with Steichen or with Flacco, when he was in Baltimore, you had the Ray Lewis regime, who he never had to play from behind, and I think letting the other team go down the field and just pick up field goals and yardage and short plays, it doesn't put them in the right position to be successful. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I could not agree more. I mean, it just, to me, it's such a defensive philosophical head-scratching issue of like this contentment to let the completions happen, let them move down the field. I mean, bend but don't break is literally the blueprint of the defense.
Right.
That is like what they want to be about. And what I think that does is it immediately puts you behind the 8 ball. You struggle from a time of possession standpoint. You struggle to control field position. And that's where I look at last night and think, oh, man, defense, commendable effort. It's like Sam Darnold had a career high in completion percentage. 69 starts in his career. Career high. Justin Jefferson, we're now 9 games into the season. The most receiving yards he's had all year, last night.
They also ran for 133 yards.
Yeah,
low-key, I know Aaron Jones didn't do much, but they did.
To the tight ends. It's just, that's where I just can't get behind this, 21 points. Is that an egregious number? I mean, I guess it's not. But to me, these NFL games, Andy, that you bring up, 1 possessions, that you live in them, a little field position moment here or there can be the difference. I mean, 1 extra third down that you convert, 2 minutes extra you eat off the clock. That can be the difference. Time of possession with some of these drives last night. Again, Minnesota had 10 drives. 9 of them reached your side of the field. 9 of them had multiple first downs. I don't know if I've ever seen that. And when you don't get off the field in timely fashion, you obviously expend your defense even more. So now they break eventually, which I think is what you saw as the game moved along. And you're putting your offense into less than favorable situations of needing to drive full lengths of the field. So I know there's a general approach, I guess, that was Darren, right, our caller?
Yeah.
To Darren's point, I guess there's a general approach in the NFL of keep things in front of you. But last night, it's 2 very polar opposite thinkings in defensive approach. And I think if you ask Shane Steichen, he would say Brian Flores keeps him up a lot more at night than Gus Bradley would. And so for me, that overall approach, there might be some bust and there might be some big plays that you allow. But if I'm forcing takeaways, if I'm getting off the field, if I'm giving my offense more chances and better field position, I think that sets you up better to win football games.
Colts we'll get to a morning check down here. The Colts had 49 plays, which is unbelievable. In the first half, KB, do you know the number? Would you guess how many Vikings plays compared to Colts plays in just the first half?
Was it 2-1?
It was 39-21. That's
so nearly
substantial.
2-1. Yeah, I mean, it's just
39-21.
Yeah, I mean, again, you have lived in this middle, and I don't think, and I've actually asked Shane Steichen this, I don't think time of possession is gospel.
Agreed.
But still, it puts you in some disadvantaged situations, and that to me, it's like I just walked into last night. I just had this feeling. I'm like, Darnold is going to complete a ton of balls. I mean, he's just going to do it.
And he didn't even play well for part of the game.
And sure enough,
a couple picks.
He's 82%.
I know.
And every time they seemingly needed Jefferson was open.
Yep.
And again, I thought last night, like, this is kind of part of my issue. When you let a player like Darnold get into rhythms he has not been in before, Andy, when the critical moments in the fourth quarter roll around, he thinks he can make a play that you don't see him making a whole lot in his career.
And he did.
And sure enough,
yeah.
Kevin O'Connell feels comfortable on a second, was that a 2nd and 11, I think it was? I mean, they are in, most teams would go full run at that moment.
Yeah, it's 2nd and 11 with 2 minutes to go.
And the Colts had already used all their timeouts, right?
2:05.
So if you wanted to, I guess the Colts maybe had one more timeout left there. You could do hey, let's just, make them burn the last timeout, and then you could milk it down to about 1:20 and play that game. But what do? They say, hey, we're going to throw it here. And if that ball goes incomplete, it is a huge play for the Colts. Not only is it 3rd and 11, but it also saves you some time there. Sure enough, Darnold makes a great play. I didn't think it was, he was open, but it wasn't like the easiest pitch and catch in the world. And they're able to ice the game with that. So that's where my issue, and this has been rooted, I could go back to the Eberflus era. I mean, if you look at it, Darnold, one of his best games of his career was with the Jets against Eberflus. Like, this overall philosophical approach, which Ballard is a huge believer in, of the contentment of letting these defenses get easy completions on you, to me, it's just kind of a soft way to play, if I could boil it down. Like, it's just it's not an attacking mindset that I think you need to have.
No, it's not. Let's get to a morning check down. Weekend headlines coming up in about 5 minutes as well.
The morning checkdown, brought to you by Marian University Football, pursuing another NAIA championship this season. Don't miss the on-campus action at Ascension St. Vincent Field. Visit NUnites.com for tickets.
All right, we've done a lot of quarterback talk. Shane Steichen right now, talking about Joe Flacco, so we'll see what happens, if anything, this week. Let's talk about a couple we haven't heard from this morning. Here's Steichen. He was asked if the quarterback change affected the running game. Obviously, Taylor just 3.5 yards per carry, 68 rushing yards on the day. Here's Steichen postgame.
We got to be efficient, running the football, there with JT and stuff. But we'll get that cleaned up. I have full faith and confidence that we'll get that cleaned up moving forward.
Yeah, I don't have full confidence. He cannot keep saying the same thing, that we're going to get things cleaned up, when they're not going to get things cleaned up, and no one thinks you're going to get things cleaned up. Here's Joe Flacco on the struggles last night.
Listen, they definitely got after us. I mean, they kind of did what they were going to do the whole game, and we just, we'd have a play here and there, but then we'd either shoot ourselves in the foot or just not really be able to keep drives going.
Colts now 4-5. Again, 2-game losing streak. They will host the Bills. You guys said 5-ish?
5. The over-under at 47.
Bills have won 4 in a row. Josh Allen, of course, putting up a big-time season. Tyler Bass, their kicker, who has had some issues this year, 61-yarder to beat the Dolphins there late in that one. All right, tonight in Dallas, Pacers are an underdog. 9:45. It is a late tip time here as the NBA staggering these starts with them not playing tomorrow night. For the election. It will be the Mavs coming off a back-to-back. Now, they played their guys last night against Orlando. They won handily. I think 32 minutes was the most for any starter, so it's not like they taxed their, Luka, Kyrie, Klay Thompson, etc. very much. So we'll see how that plays out. Injuries, obviously, a question mark for the Pacers right now. They're 2-4 in the year. Isaiah Jackson is lost with that torn Achilles. Aaron Nesmith is out for tonight. Andrew Nembhard is questionable. So you are in a bit of scramble mode here.
It's not good.
Certainly in the front court with that reliance on depth. You got to feel like the Pacers have make some moves center-wise. I know it's not maybe as easy as it is in just picking up guys in free agency in the NFL, but you got to do something on that end. We'll see how this plays out tonight. Again, in Dallas, 9:45. Rick Carlisle scheduled to join us tomorrow.
Yeah, Butler in action tonight as college basketball is underway. Butler as well. Butler at 6:45. Purdue coming up at 6 o'clock. And Stephanie White officially named Fever head coach. You said she's joining us tomorrow at 9 a.m. So new coach there with the Indiana Fever. Let's take a break. Coming up on the other side, your weekend headlines. We'll get to more calls. Half an hour to go. Appreciate you waking up with us. Wake up call 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Some absolutely epic headlines we're going to get to here in just a second. We'll share those. Again, 5 words or less, and plenty to get to on that end. I know some people had an issue, Andy, late fourth quarter there, 3rd and 2. So to set it up for those that were in REM sleep by the time this happened, Vikings up 14-10. Colts have a 3rd and 2 at the Minnesota 40-yard line with a little over 5 minutes to go. Huge sequence. Huge moment in the game. Jonathan Taylor had exited after first down after a 4-yard gain. Steichen said afterwards he wasn't aware of Taylor in any injury mode. It looked like Taylor was chatting with a member of the athletic training staff.
Yeah, what's he talking about? He came off limping to the sideline.
Yeah, so
he came out of the game and was talking to the trainers as a guy off a 3-4 week injury.
So I thought that, like, I wasn't stunned to see Sermon in the game, I guess, is what I'm getting at. I don't think this was a, hey, Taylor's fine, and they're putting Sermon in. And I said to you earlier in the show, it actually crossed my mind there, 3rd and 2, especially without Taylor. Should you put Richardson in the game? They had yet to play him. Shane Steichen acted like Friday that, certainly there would be a short yardage package available to him. Certainly people would have ripped the decision either way. Had he screwed it up, they would have been like, why would you put a cold player in the game with 5 minutes to go? But I thought, like, you'd been so poor on 3rd down to that point, Andy. It was a thought I had. Now, what happens on 3rd and 2? He tries to fit a ball into Michael Pittman Jr. well down the field with Trey Sermon seemingly available on a check down. That falls incomplete. Ashton Doolin gets blown up on 4th down. So incomplete. And I thought that kind of felt like the final nail in the coffin.
Yeah, I don't know what Steichen's talking about, because now he's admitting that he has Trey Sermon in a critical down and not Jonathan Taylor.
Taylor was hurt. I mean, I guess,
of course he was, but Steichen's acting like we don't know that.
Yeah.
Of course he was injured or not. There was something that wasn't right. He got tackled. He was kind of, you could tell he was uncomfortable.
Right.
And he kind of, I don't want to call it a limp, but he kind of just moved to the sideline.
It happens to a running back every single game.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the flip side is, if Steichen didn't know that, is that he wanted, in this moment, with 5 minutes to go in the game, when you're down to 3rd and 4th downs that can decide a game, when you're down by just 4, go get a touchdown, win this game, change the entire narrative about the day, the week, the night, the season, and everything else. Then he wanted Trey Sermon in there instead of Jonathan Taylor. That's silly.
As I've said all morning long, the most damning thing Steichen, Flacco related from last night is the Flacco misses were where you thought you'd find the instant upgrade. The 3rd and manageable, the easy check down on 3rd and 2. Okay, your first read maybe is Pittman down the field, but just realize that you live to see another down at that point of the game, 3rd and 2. He throws the 3rd and 8 interception earlier in the fourth quarter. He had Pittman on a crosser on a 3rd down in the fourth quarter as well that he just threw low to him. Those are 3rd downs, fourth quarters, the guy that you've turned to be the win now, to be the 39-year-old, to be the whatever, 200 starts in his NFL career, however many he has. Bless you, Mark. Like, that's why you play Flacco, theoretically, and not Richardson. And I think that was the most troubling aspect to last night.
I meant to do this. I totally forgot. We need to go do this, though. Collinsworth, like 3 different times, was like, Joe Flacco is really settling into this game. And I swear, every time he said that Joe Flacco's settling into the game, Joe Flacco did something poor. He threw the ball away. He threw an interception. Like, every time that Collinsworth tried to put up for Joe Flacco, it ended poorly.
If you somehow went to bed after the opening drive, you saw the best Joe Flacco all night.
Yes, you did.
The ball to Granson to start the game.
Yes, you
and
did.
If somehow you
22
were,
yards.
Whatever, hung over and waiting for daylight savings time to hit you, consider it a blessing on that end. All right, let's do our morning headlines.
Extra, read all about it.
I can't read it. There's no words on it. I'm Ron Burgundy, and this is what's happening in your world tonight.
Ripped from the headlines of the newspaper.
We'll do it live.
Post-game headlines.
Thing sucks.
All right, I'm looking through them right now. Biggest laughing stock in the league. I like this one from Nick. Pacers bad. Colts hold my beer.
On the flip side of that, J-Law, IU football number 8. Tyler, Colts offense gets skull crushed.
That's pretty good. By the way, where do you think Indiana's going to be tonight? I mean, they're going to be in the college football playoff
tomorrow
field. Night. So does it even matter, I guess, where they're ranked?
Well,
I guess we'll find out where other teams are ranked around them. I'm more interested in that.
I'm just fascinated to see how they treat IU's schedule. Like, I mean, and again, they have won every game by 14 points. And now we're getting off an IU tangent. But how does the committee look at them? Because there is a little bit of like, if they
it's going to be fascinating.
If they were Michigan, like if they had Michigan on their jersey, would they be a top 4 team right now?
They might be number 2 in the country. I mean, the answer is yes. I'm not ready to play the disrespect card on IU
I know,
yet.
but I'm just curious to see.
But I could see it happening.
Because, again, their schedule has been a joke when you compare them to the other schedules around them. Adam, and this scares me that I actually think that this is a possibility. I'm like, should I write this? Adam, Ellinger named Colts starter.
Matt says, I stayed up for this. That is the problem with Sunday Night Football. You're nuking your Monday.
Well, and then the fact that it was daylight savings time, too, didn't help anything.
Oh, yeah.
This guy, a weekly contributor on this segment, Tony Footlong, slid into my DMs.
Oh, boy.
Because he couldn't find the
glad
post.
he didn't slide anywhere else.
So all of a sudden, I woke up this morning, and Tony Footlong's in my DMs. I'm like, oh, boy.
We like him.
He slides somewhere else. You might be in Hendricks Memorial.
I know. I was like, easy, Tony. He said, maybe Shane is the problem. That was his 5-word contribution.
Well,
Aaron, I feel like he said this before. Bowling shoe ugly offensive performance.
I see one here. Flacco falls back like clocks.
Oh, that's good.
That is pretty good.
I think I like that one.
Young for Richardson. Oh, God, I can't do the Bryce Young. Go get Bryce Young. Yeah, that'll help.
I thought Flacco might get injured on that last drive. He was taking some hits.
I know.
Uninspired, uninterested, unbelievably pathetic, Shane. That was from Matt.
No O in Flacco.
Oh, that's good. How about this one from David? AR probably wins this one.
Oh, yeah. How about this one from Jason? Colts take Flack, benching Richardson. That's pretty good, too.
That's good.
Man, there's
People are
3 or
funny.
4. There's 3 or 4 on here that are pretty good. At Lisa's college b-ball season. Well, yeah, depending on who you're a fan of.
People are funny. Tonight, Manning cast, Bill Belichick, Jason Sudeikis, Maria Taylor.
I'm just so tired of all the Chiefs guys.
I feel like I've seen Sudeikis too much.
I've seen 1,000. Who's the guy that looks better with age? Who's in all the comedies?
Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
Who's the guy? Who's the other one? I'm blanking on. There's like 3 comedians, and they just go to him every time the Chiefs are on national TV, which is almost every week. Enough.
J-Law, I think, calling out my Irish for their schedule. Hey, A&M lost, but Louisville got a big win, and you warned us for that, Andy Sweeney. You said Jeff Brom had one up his sleeve.
The ACC has to be so upset because Clemson's done. Clemson's not going to make the college football playoff, and they got steamrolled on Saturday night. They had beat Louisville 9 straight times. 9 straight times. This is going all the way back to when Lamar Jackson and Deshaun Watson were playing against each other. 9 straight times, and they lost that game. The other game is South Carolina.
I
mean,
know.
A&M,
That was not good for the Irish.
Well, yeah, it's not, but in the end, I still think A&M is going to, I guess, be okay, but the committee's got some I don't know. I'm not ready to do they're disrespecting Indiana yet.
Who's
I'm
higher?
just not ready.
Notre Dame or Indiana tomorrow?
Notre Dame.
Because the AP poll, it's IU at 8 and Notre Dame at 10, right?
Yeah.
I think BYU's in between them.
I could see them being back-to-back, but I think the projection I saw would be, I think was it Indiana and Notre Dame playing each other? It might have been on one projection that I saw on ESPN.
I saw like Notre Dame, Penn State, and then IU playing Tennessee.
Yeah.
You imagine how much orange would be in Memorial Stadium for that one?
I've seen Tennessee. Tennessee the last couple weeks has been Sorry to Jason Hammer.
I'm wearing my Smoky shirt today.
I know you are. I'm just not. I'm not there yet. I got to be honest. The funny thing is, this is going to be a complete mess, and the teams that like the SEC is going to have to put on for are going to be some generic ass teams.
Again, the SEC,
teams, man.
The Big Ten's going to have 3 or 4 of these teams with 1 loss.
I know.
And then they're going to be comp to the 2 losses in the SEC. And, boy, pray for Paul Feinbaum.
Oh, man, you're exactly right. All right, let's take a break. 239-1070. We can take a couple calls on the back end. What else happened in the NFL this weekend? We'll dive into that. Colts, Vikings as well. One more segment to go. Again, 239-1070. It's a Monday on the Fan.
Well, just to get you set, this Monday is also the tip-off for college basketball. Ironically enough, it'll be IU-Indy, the Paul Casaro era, beginning the college basketball season here, coming up at 11 a.m. today. They are the first game. Tonight, Purdue in action, Texas A&M Corpus Christi at 6 o'clock. And then Butler, they are hosting Missouri State over at Hinkle. That is 6:45. I am IU, by the way, Wednesday with SIU Edwardsville to start their season. I am very much looking forward to Matt Painter and this Purdue team. I think there are a couple freshmen there that, in CJ Cox and Jakari Harris, that have turned some heads. Are they in the starting lineup? Are they key bench guys? Reliance on freshmen, not something we typically see a whole lot of with that program. How do those guys fit into it? And just in general, life without Zach Edey. So I'm looking forward to getting a glimpse at that tonight.
Yeah, the beauty with Purdue is, there's an expectation there that, hey, we're going to win.
Yeah, we fall out of bed and do it.
Especially when you have Braden Smith and some other big-time players there. It's like, no, we're going to win. We're going to win a bunch of games, and, we're going to win the Big Ten. I don't know.
And is Trey Kaufman-Renn ready for that next jump? I think Matt Painter has been pretty bullish in saying, we feel like he's an all Big Ten guy. Is he that? And then, where else do they get some help? So Purdue will get things underway coming up tonight, year 3 for the Thad Matta era. And then again, Indiana starting on Wednesday.
Just a couple things around the NFL yesterday. You guys can chime in and add where you want. Did you see that Derek Carr and the Saints lost by 1 in Carolina to the Panthers yesterday? Okay,
I did see that.
I'm sure you saw. Red Zone went to the game. It had a nice ending and everything. Obviously the Saints are terrible. They choked it away. They'll probably trade Chase Young. He's a defensive name to watch here over the next couple hours. Derek Carr also is now the first quarterback in NFL history to lose to 31 different teams. Do you know the team he hasn't lost to? I mean, it's rather obvious. It's the Raiders.
I was going to say, the Raiders or the Saints?
It's the Raiders, and they face the Raiders second to last weekend of the year.
Oh, let's go.
The game will be in New Orleans, December 29th.
Can we flex that?
To me, that's as interesting as anything else. So I wanted to throw that out there as something. The Washington Commanders have 3 turnovers, guys, through 9 games. That's an unreal stat.
Are they legit?
Yeah, let me tell you why. They went through the motions yesterday and beat the Giants. Good teams can play B-minus game and just go win because they're just better. They make the plays. That's my opinion. So are they for real? Yeah, I mean, they're going to win the East, I think. But according to Elias Sports, Washington's 3 turnovers are the fewest by a team in the first 9 games of an NFL season since 1933. And if you're wondering, especially Scotty, if you're listening, 1933 was the first year that turnovers were tracked. Just a couple other items that you guys chime in. Did you see the Saquon Barkley play?
A million times.
Yeah. The greatest 14-yard run in the history of the NFL.
Is it the greatest 13, 14-year-old yard run in NFL history? I think it might be. So that was a freak show thing.
The reverse hurdle. I mean, come on now.
That was awesome, dude. I saw it live. Good for him. Did you see Dak Prescott on the sideline, knocked out of the game against Atlanta, was caught on camera telling another player, "Wow, we bleeping suck."
That's great. I love that.
Settle down just a little bit.
Oh, it's fantastic.
I totally forgot Cooper Rush was still around until I saw him get into the game.
And then Drake London and Amon-Ra St. Brown both did the same celebration where they tried to do the headstand. Did you see where that came from by any chance?
I saw the Green Bay Sucks t-shirt from St. Brown, but that was sweatshirt, but that was it.
No, so if you see St. Brown when he goes into the end zone, he immediately does a headstand. Like he's like literally on his head, okay? That's from Jalen Walthall, who did that on Saturday for a school by the name of Incarnate Word. He did that celebration, and he got flagged for it. 2 NFL players on Sunday, Drake London and Amon-Ra St. Brown, mimicked that from yesterday. So I found some fun storylines. I think, AFC-wise, I thought the Chargers made a statement by destroying the Browns. And listen, we're talking about the Colts. If we even want to have a conversation about making the postseason, and I get it's so difficult after what we saw yesterday, the Cincinnati Bengals won again yesterday as well. So Chargers, I know Denver lost. That was a good thing. Houston lost. I think Houston has some more losses coming, but The Chargers, big win there in Cleveland, and Cincinnati now maybe trying to put something together here in the middle part of the season.
So I'm going over the schedule. Again, Colts host the Bills coming up Sunday. That's back in where the Colts belong, Sunday at 1 o'clock time slot here. Buffalo, about a 5-point favorite. And then the following week, they're supposed to be at New York for Sunday Night Football.
Correct.
Boy, this slate is incredible that week. You have Kansas City. So these are all CBS games.
Okay.
Each TV network can protect one game, right? So CBS has got these 3 games. Again, they can only protect one of them. Kansas City, Buffalo. You would assume that'll be the game.
That's the one that already supposedly has been protected.
That's one of the best games you're going to get all year. How about these other 2? Cincinnati and the Chargers. Burrow and Herbert.
I know.
And then Baltimore, Pittsburgh.
Also a very good one.
I mean, wouldn't one of those 2 games slide into Sunday Night Football for Colts Jets, or is Aaron Rodgers and the Jets that seemingly a Joe Flacco return game too?
Yeah, well, of course, it's Joe Flacco going back.
Tribute video at MetLife for Joe Flacco.
I mean, and they have to make the decision like soon here, like in the next couple days, like day or two.
I think it's like today or tomorrow.
Yeah, because it can't be next week. Like you would love to wait to see if the Jets were to win in Arizona, then the Jets would have some steam. But I think nationally, people are tired of the Jets. Like I think Mark, you fit the mold of the average American, right?
Have you ever
you're tired
heard
of
the
the
show
Jets.
that's on after us?
Well, it all depends if Greeny's there or not.
So we will see if that news item happens. And again, the NFL trade deadline is about 36 hours away. We've had a lot of activity, I would say, for the NFL over the last 2 weeks. The Colts made a trade a couple years ago when the season was coming off the rails. Naheem Hines for Zach Moss and a draft pick.
There you go.
That is extremely rare, though. They have stayed away from a lot of that. They said they were win now last week. Does that mean Shane Steichen's answer to the trade deadline on Friday was kind of odd. Yeah, I thought he acted like they might actually do something. But then I'm like, wait, does last night's loss mean then you don't do something?
I have no idea.
Or does it just mean absolutely nothing?
And they're going to do something.
He's
what are they
spinning
gonna,
me in circles.
Yeah, what are they going to do? I mean, you're going to add like a back end of the roster guy. You're going to go get David Njoku from the Browns and add like a big tight end. Like I can't believe they're going to do something. We have about a minute to go here. Greeny coming up after us. Anything you can't wait to ask Steichen today? What do you think the mood will be, as that's a tough one last night, and now they're going to be questioned about everything they've done in the last 8 days?
Again, he threw out the phrase right now when asked a couple times last night about Flacco still being his quarterback. I guess that question needs to be asked 24 hours later. The other one would just be this, Andy. Why last year much more consistently offensively? Because seemingly the personnel's better this year offensively than it was last year. And yet you can't get to that level. And I guess the why behind that would be where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, really the only difference is Zach Moss. I mean, is that much of a difference? I just can't believe that's the case.
Taylor's healthier than he was
he's
last
healthier.
year.
80 Mitchell Pierce is better. Yeah, I'm with you. All right, is Jake back? Is he back on this Monday? No? Jake and Jimmy coming up at noon. JMV at 3. You miss any of our show, 1075thefan.com.